We are absolutely winning right now. Absolutely. We have done more than change the conversation. We changed the balance of power in the federal government.
What black community? It's a black environment with black women and black children in it.
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have, that isn't freedom. That isn't going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help black people.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's another beautiful Sunday in America, and I am back with more misogyny. Yeah, I'm right out the gate, misogyny. I'm going to wear that proudly. There was something that popped up on my Twitter thread today. It basically kind of sparked my whole idea for the stream, but I will gladly accept the blame for black women not being voted into office. I will accept the blame for black women not getting elected in whatever office they're running for. It is all right with me. You totally got my permission. You have my permission to blame me for black women not being elected. I accept that. As an individual black man, as a part of the black male collective, I want that. I want this. This is what I want. I want black men to be blamed for black women not achieving their full political dream. That is where we are. That is the conflict that will be thrust upon us no matter what we do. And I say we lean into it. I say we must lean into it. Why should women be the only people that get to ask, what have you done for me lately? When do men get to ask, what have you done for me lately? I mean, yeah, I know, if I call you in the middle of the night asking for some, you might let me get it. You might let me hit that. But what have you done for me lately? I know you had a baby that you took me to court and made me pay for and all. That was nice. But what have you done for me lately? I know you got me fired from that one job because you was, spreading lies about me and all that. That was cool. But what have you done for me lately? Why is it bad for men to simply vote against a woman? I feel your pain, Maxwell. Maxwell, I have been there. I understand. I too have been hit with the impossible question, what have you done for me lately? And the only thing I could think of in response is, what the hell do you deserve? But that's a story for another day. But that is the only appropriate response to what have you done for me lately? I gave you exactly what you deserve. If that happens to be nothing, well, it's not my fault. You get what you deserve, do you not? Now, and you know what? And when women flip that question around on men, when men start to ask, what have you done for me lately? And women will say, I gave you exactly what you deserved, they will be right. Yes, yes, yes. They will be right. When women look you square in the eye and say, "I gave you exactly what you deserved," they aren't wrong. They are not wrong. And now it's a little bit difficult for a lot of us to understand as guys, but the simple fact is we've all been lied to. We've all been sold a dream. We've all been hoodwinked. We've all been bamboozled. We didn't land on feminism rock. Black feminism landed on us, right? So this idea that somehow we are undeserving of the punishment that will come against us, it's just, we can't work with that. We will get what we deserve, right? If you vote for women, if you vote for black women, you will get what you deserve. Whatever happens to you after that is already paid for. Your name is on the check. Hey, listen, in the end, we all get what we deserve, Maxwell. That is the price. That is the price we all pay in life. We all get what we deserve. So if we vote, all right, and I know I'm going somewhere with this, and it always starts out a little rambled, right? But then I bring it together. I weave it together in a nice tapestry, right? The reason why I say we get what we deserve. And now this goes double in black community conversations because there's something a little bit more particular to black America that you don't necessarily get as common in the rest of America. And there's this idea, like this gender war between black men and black women has its own unique black vibe to it, right? So let's ponder this question for a minute, and then we're gonna get deeper into the show. If you haven't hit the like button already, you trying to tell me something? I mean, like you don't fuck with me like that or something? What? Like hit the button, goddamn it! But we're going to get into this whole gender war thing, but here's it's not even so much the gender war per se, but it has elements that are directly connected to the gender war. But this idea of black men leading black women. See, a lot of black men and even, quite a few black women accept the idea that, a black man should be leading. Now, black women say that almost from an argumentative standpoint, like, if you was man enough, you would be leading me, but you ain't no man, and that's why I'm in charge. Like black women take the argument from that element, but black men just sort of take the argument from a more logical standpoint, or even just a more like base standpoint, like where I'm a man and I should be in charge. Like a lot of black men kind of come at it from that without even necessarily having a logical, thought out process behind it. How as black men how can we say we deserve to be respected, we deserve to be followed, we deserve the big piece of chicken, as they say, right? How do we deserve all these things when we vote for her? How do you lead a woman who you give all your support to? Think about that for a minute. How can you lead women whom you propel ahead of you? How does that work? Like you got to think about this. We made this happen as black men. This is we have something to do with this right here.
We are absolutely winning right now. Absolutely. We have done more than change the conversation. We changed the balance of power in the federal government.
And so you kind of have to like accept that, right? By buying into the establishment, by buying into the feminist lie, by accepting, black girl magic, by going along with all the anti-male initiatives, all the women first initiatives, we have slowly backed ourselves into a corner where there is no ideological or even a rhetorical way out. If you support women, you can't lead them. If you prop women up, you cannot lead them. The person sitting on your shoulders giving you directions is the person in charge. You guys remember, so I don't know how this crowd might be just young enough or just old enough to remember. In the original Mad Max, right? I think it was in not no, it was in Thunderdome. It was Mad Max Thunderdome, the one with Tina Turner, right? There was a character called Master Blaster. Master Blaster was a combination of two unlikely characters, right? Master Blaster was a big, muscular guy, like a brute, right? He was a big, giant brute, but he was dumb. And Master Blaster had this little guy on his like back that he would carry around, who was in fact like the head engineer for all of that Thunderdome city, right? So now Master Blaster was effectively useless without the little guy. Black men have been playing the role of, the brute, carrying the little guy on our shoulder. And the little guy has been running us into a wall. And that's kind of the position that you're in as black men right now. Because all of politics is very much dominated by the female spirit, and Democrat politics really is dominated by the female spirit, and black Democrat politics is even more heavily dominated by such spirit. It leaves black men in a very unique position. And I just openly acknowledge the point here. It is time for black men to openly embrace the conflict and pull back from not only the Democrat Party, but from black women politically as well. Now, mind you, I have very little to add to the whole dating piece. I'm not really concerned about the dating side of the gender war per se. However, when it comes to politics, I mean, I say you can have sex with them and marry them and vote against them. It would only make your goal of getting sex and marriage a lot easier. Just vote against them every time, all the time, anytime. Vote against them.
The Democrats are ignoring black men. It's a disaster for 2024. Opinion. Democrats have historically done a great job of reaching out to underrepresented groups. They've rightly given voice to LGBTQ communities and elected record numbers of women to congressional office in 2018, many of them women of color. We saw a wave of black women mayors and prosecutors across the country, which many saw as Democrats recognizing the debt they owed black women, especially after they played a pivotal part in the election of Doug Jones, who in 2017 became the first Democratic senator from Ruby Red, Alabama in 25 years. Black women have been the most loyal and reliable voting bloc for the party, and they deserve that recognition. But the second most loyal
But what have you done for me lately? See, black women have been the most loyal and reliable voting bloc for the party, right? So they are the biggest supporters of the party that hasn't done anything for us, right? I have to ask, what have you done for me lately?
Democratic voting bloc, black men, has not gotten the same kind of recognition, and the party's penchant for ignoring black men is leading to a remarkable attrition in recent years. The Democratic Party has been slow to recognize that the percentage of black men voting for them in presidential elections had been falling since reaching an apex in 2008. Many black male voters were enamored with then Senator Barack Obama. He represented the best of us. He looked, walked, and talked like us. His wife looked like our sisters, mothers, and wives. His children looked like our children. He was enthusiastically endorsed by everyone from our local pastor to our favorite trap rapper. Tough economic.
Now, you see how we all got hoodwinked and bamboozled with Obama? And this is why I kind of speak out against the whole representation argument. I don't really care about visual representation like that because you're just going to use it against me. It's just an emotional trap. It's like, oh, damn, he looked like me. Next thing you know, transgenders are in the bathroom.
Times pushed a few black men away from President Obama during his re-election campaign in 2012. The Democratic Party then moved on to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in 2016, who didn't specifically message to black men, the opposite. Her opponents reminded us that she had called black men and boys super predators in the 1990s. This history armed Republicans with a powerful counterpoint to Trump's racial insensitivity, and the fact that Clinton's campaign didn't intensify efforts to attract African American male voters left some feeling disregarded and taken for granted. While Joe Biden was able to pull out a victory, exit polls showed that President Trump got up to 18% of black male voters, a staggering number for a president cast by many as the apotheosis of a new white supremacy. But attrition to the Republicans is only one piece of the puzzle. A New York Times Siena poll showed that black voters have been getting more pessimistic about the American political system and its ability to fix our nation's problems. Apathy among black voters is just
Actually, black men have been getting more and more jaded about the political process, and black men have been increasingly vociferous in their dislike for the direction of the Democrat Party. You don't really hear that many black women really taking the party to task. If anything, they try to take the men to task on behalf of the party.
as problematic for Democrats as them voting for Republicans. Why such alienation from the Democratic Party that once got so many of their votes? Some black men feel they are spoken about by Democrats rather than spoken to. George Floyd and other African American men who died at the hands of law enforcement became rallying cries for the political left, but we saw very few black male Democrats playing major roles in the political discourse surrounding the issue. To his credit, President
Now, I saw that immediately. That was one of the things that even in my personal circles kind of got people looking at me, because once BLM came out, like as soon as they came out, I was like, no, no. I read the brochure, no. I read the pamphlet, no. I've been watching the protest and the marching and the twerking, no. I wasn't with none of that.
Biden has a more diverse cabinet than any of his predecessors, including his former boss, President Obama. But he only has 2 black men in his cabinet, and Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Michael Regan has been nearly absent from public view, despite the enormous gains around climate change. There has been little by way of messaging about how climate action and other Biden political wins help black men and communities. Through all the diversity and messaging, black men's
Hold on, let me run that back a second. Like, what did you try to convince me?
There has been little by way of messaging about how climate action and other Biden political wins help black men and communities. Through all the diversity and messaging.
Oh, climate action. Climate action is supposed to help me, right? Climate action is supposed to help me. How does raising the gas price to fight Russia and also fight climate change help me? Like, and not for nothing. Let me not even be glib about it. I don't think climate change. Well, climate change. We didn't start out calling it climate change. Once they named it climate change, you can never be wrong because climate always changes. But this whole thing started out with global warming. You guys remember global warming? And what happened is the Earth didn't actually warm up on schedule, so they started calling it climate change. Climate change is something that happens all the time, whether or not people are on the earth or not. The climate will change over time. So I don't know how fighting nature is supposed to make me money. Are we fighting nature on behalf of like saving black men? Is that the lie now? Is that the lie that we're working with? If I fight nature, the black man will somehow like get from under oppression. I call bullshit on the whole thing. And thank you to Truism for the $3 Cash App. And also, he said trying to herd cats. So, yeah, it is a little bit like herding cats. And also, thank you to Deacon Dave for the $5. I mean, I'm sorry, not Deacon Dave. Thank you to D-Rock Dave for $5 during yesterday's show with Bernard O'Reilly. Appreciate you guys both. Thank you so much.
Black men still feel largely invisible. Some Democratic candidates are finally reading the room. Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams and candidate for the U.S. Senate out of Florida, Representative Val Demings, both have targeted black men directly in recent ads. Abrams invoked her father, and Deming talks about her brothers. If Vice President Harris is to be Joe Biden's successor in 2024 or 2028, she needs to think now about how she will be able to connect with black men. The closest men to her husband and stepson, are white, and there are questions about her relationship with her father. So the Deming/Abrams playbook may be difficult. What Harris needs is to cultivate relationships and build a specific message and policy prescriptions for black male voters. She will need their overwhelming support and turnout if she does not want to suffer Secretary Clinton's fate. African American men see themselves on the suffering end of disparities in health outcomes, education, and criminal justice, yet the Democratic Party has not messaged directly to them. Democrats cannot merely depend upon the racial hostility of Republicans to garner black male turnout. They cannot afford to lose any more black male voters to electoral apathy or the GOP. Black men want to be seen and spoken to. We want policies in place that will help us, our families, and our communities. Dr. Jason Nichols is an award-winning senior lecturer in the African Americans.
Now, that was an article written in the Newsweek magazine, published very recently. And when did this come out? Not 8/19/22. So this is just a week ago, basically. Now, we've kind of been tracking this over here on this side of the Black manosphere, this falling out that Black men are having with the Democrat Party. And I obviously there are reasons why, obvious logical reasons why you should never follow Democrats, especially as a man, and also as a Black man, even more so, right? But I think it's a little bit deeper when it comes to like these Black gender war conversations. When it comes to this little battle we're having over the soul of Black folk, as they say, I think it's time for Black men to actually throw down the gauntlet. Black women have been sort of allowed to quietly wage a guerrilla war against the male interest, and I think it's time for Black men to make it an open war. There's definitely causes belly, I think is the way you frame that, but there is definitely call for open political opposition, right? I'm using the term war loosely, as in politics is war by other means, but we definitely have grounds to go on an offensive of our own, if for no other reason than from a legal standpoint. And we kind of talked about this yesterday on the Bernard Riley show with the whole family court piece. Your children are always worth going to war over. The future of your children is always something that is a casus belli, however you say that Latin shit. That is always a valid reason to go to war. And so if Black men can, spend hours and hours, thousands of dollars, years of our lives in family court to reclaim our families, to reestablish our position as heads of our children's lives, then it's only a logical step to go even further and to basically vote against the female political establishment. I think is a better way to frame that, right? There is a female-centered political establishment. That, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of men who are they find a comfortable place to sit in that female political establishment, but that is basically what we're dealing with here. And if you can spend this much time, if you have had to spend any time fighting to be the natural or some kind of authority in your children's lives, then I think it is only a logical extension of that effort to simply vote against the female-centered political establishment. It is time. You remember those commercials that all those Hollywood weirdos would do? A lot of them were like sitting in an empty bathtub or something like that, and they'd be like, "It's time. It's time. It's definitely time. It's time to end racism." And I'm like, well, no, it's time to vote against Black women. It's time. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. It's definitely time. All right. You got to understand. I want you look me in my eye. All right, look me in my eye. Listen to me when I say this to you. I need you to look me square in the eye, okay? Eye to eye. It's time. Only you can stand up against the threat of Black feminism. It's time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. But that's how they came at us for a long time now. Like, this is what Hollywood has done. They go on these campaigns to try to like get your sympathies in line. But it's all a joke. It's all kind of a lie. It's all contrived to sort of get you riled up from an emotional context, and then vote against the things that you would need as an individual, especially as a man. But low key, you know, women are losing their women are losing their luster, right? The shine is starting to come off a little bit because of all this flirtation with the left. Because frankly, as women, you're kind of in it's a very binary choice as women. You can work with men or you can work against men. And all this time of working against men has made working with men a near impossibility. Hey, cute nerd, you know what? That might be a part of we're gonna see this picture in a campaign in the future, right? There's gonna be a black male politician who does that same exact thing in a campaign in the future. This banner is with Ike Turner's face on it. It's time. Written underneath it. Like, yes, it's time. Wayne Black in the chat says black women are getting evicted left and right. You know why that happened? You know why that's happening, Wayne? Because the landlord was looking at his bills, he was going through the paperwork, and he looked up from the desk and was like, it's time. It's time. This bitch ain't got my money. It's time. It's definitely time. Matter of fact, it's been time for a while, and I've been being nice, so it's time to stop being nice. It's time. Like, that's what's been going on the eviction front, bro. It's time. But like I said, I am good. I will gladly accept the blame. All right. It's time for me to take the blame for black women not getting voted into office. I want that to be. I would have if that is the only thing that ever gets carved on my tombstone. You know, here lies Hoodservative. He voted against every woman ever. I'd be good with that. That is a life well spent. Never voted for women. That is a life well spent. All right, I'm gonna take this resume and have who's the guy at the pearly gates? Was it like Saint Michael, Saint John, whatever saint I got to talk to get into heaven? I'd be like, look at my resume. Look at this resume. Come on, I'm gonna slam it on the desk like it's dominoes. Look at this. Listen, that is one way for black men to definitively land a blow. And what we're calling the gender war. St. Peter, you gotta feel me, bro. St. Peter gotta feel me on this one. Come on, holla at your boy Pete. Look at this life's work, not one. All the billions of women in the world, and I didn't vote for none of them. That's what you call holding the line, Pete. Oh, and look, how about that? Shout out to Deacon Dave for the Cash App as well. Thank you for that. I appreciate you so much. You know, one of these days I'm gonna get my sound effects back. But right now, it's just a lot easier to do the bare bones struggle stream without trying to set up all the bells and whistles. So, you know, we'll get back to it one day. But thank you, Deacon Dave, for this Cash App. But yeah, listen, you got to feel me, Pete. I held the line. I did what you asked me to do, Pete. Now I wanna play a clip from I think this is maybe last week's episode of Tiffany Cross. Let's get a little bit caught up on more of why I think we need to openly declare political war here. I declare war.
Terrence, I want to ask you just for the math part, because I don't know that it's fair to lay this at the feet of black men and say, yeah, you guys cost us the election, because black men overwhelmingly vote Democrat.
I don't care if it's fair. Blame me. I want the smoke. I want the smoke. Black men getting blamed for black women not achieving their political desires is everything black men need, both in real, regular, individual life. Like this will help you as an individual black man, and it will also help us in this social media gender war. Yes, I want the smoke. Give me the smoke. You got nickel bags of smoke? I'm buying that shit.
And so as a pollster, I'm curious your take on this conversation around black male voters in Georgia.
Yeah, thank you for that, Tiffany. You know, the truth is that the Democratic support gap between men and women is not unique to Black voters. There's a gender gap amongst all voters where men are more likely to vote conservative. Now, when you look at the math here, Stacey Abrams lost in 2018 by 55,000 votes. Had Black men voted for Stacey Abrams at the same rate as Black women, she would have had 120,000 more votes. So,
Yes, I did that. I did that. Look me in my eye. Look at me. Look at me. I'm the captain now. You see that? You see it. This is why yesterday when we were talking about politics on Bernard's and some guys were talking about I'm just not gonna vote for either party. I'm good with that. I am good with that. Not voting is still voting against Black women. When Black women are the core vote of the Democrat Party and Black men will actually be noticeably absent and then get the blame for their noticeable absence, that means you're voting against them. A no vote is a vote against Black women, all right? Not voting is voting against Black women. I want the smoke.
there is math there. The challenge is that since 2018, Republicans have doubled down on their efforts, coordinated and expensive investments targeting Black men, targeting men of color. And in 2020, we saw Donald Trump double his margins amongst Black men in Georgia, a difference of 370,000 votes. The gap between Black men and Black women was the difference of 370,000 votes in Georgia. And so we do have to close that gap. And while that is not unique to Black,
but you can't close the gap. You know why you can't close the gap? Because you refuse to sell what I'm willing to buy. It's simple as that, and it's very much akin to what's going on like the dating gender war front. As a political group, the Democrats are refusing to sell what Black men are willing to buy, and so as a social bloc, right? As the social bloc of Black America, a lot of Black women are refusing to sell what the men are willing to buy. Why do I want this store to exist if they never have anything I want? That's like, oh, I remember, damn, it was a song that said that shit. Why you going to the Chinese? Why you buying Chinese food when you want pizza? That's really it. Why am I buying Chinese food when I want pizza? All y'all do is sell Chinese food. I heard MSG was bad for you. I want pizza.
Black men, and we see that gap amongst all men of color. The difference with Black men is that they were Democratic voters. These were Obama voters, and some would argue that they were only Obama voters. They were never, in fact, Democratic voters, and that is where Democrats have work to do to prove that since 2020 they have made progress on the issues that matter most to Black men, and that they have a plan for Black men moving forward.
I see Art down there in the chat says, I live in Georgia, voting red. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Now, this definitely came up on the panel when we were talking Black politics yesterday. And again, I'm not going to, demand that a Black man vote for the Republicans just because, I'm more likely to vote Republican. That is not the extent of my push here. The extent of my push is to get you to question your allegiance to the Democrat Party. That is all I really am after in the long run, because like I said, a no vote is still a vote for what I want, right? So you not voting Democrat is all I really ask for. The fact that you're openly voting red, hey, bro, that's just gravy. I'm all for gravy. You know what I mean? So I accept that, and I'm glad to have that. Now, yeah, you know what? Herschel Walker, he's not my favorite candidate, but I definitely like Herschel Walker better than the opposition there. And frankly, I think most of the attacks that they've waged against him have been kind of light. Herschel's kind of like he's kind of the cheesy kind of candidate in a lot of ways, like not cheesy in a negative way, like that wholesome cheesy. He kind of reminds me of that. Like he's like a wholesome cheesy kind of guy. And so, I'm good with Herschel Walker. You said Herschel Walker is Mr. GA. Herschel will make Raphael go away. Yes, clever Kev, I do want the gravy. I like gravy on mine. Yes, I do. Now I want to play another clip from I think this came out more recently with Tiffany Cross here. This probably happened on yesterday's show because I think they do a Saturday show, and her good co-host Jason Johnson had some words about this situation.
People in general get blamed for failings on the part of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
When policies get passed, when statutes, when candidates get elected, it's like, oh, the black people didn't turn out, the black people didn't turn out. And now it seems to be focused on black men. African-American men are super voters for the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of people going to Brian Kemp and going to DeSantis, but the issue has been—
There are a few.
There are a small number,
Yeah.
but let's be realistic. The vast majority of black men are still voting for Democratic candidates. But the question, and the thing I hear from people all the time is important, is what has the Democratic Party done for black men?
That's a fair
That is the question of the day, right? What have you done for me lately? Like, I know you be letting me smash every time your baby daddy get locked up, but what have you done for me lately? I know you let me buy your food stamps 50 cents on the dollar, and I appreciate that. You know, my refrigerator thanks you, but what have you done for me lately? And speaking of doing things for me lately, thank you to Laughing Dog with the 20-ball Cash App for the year of the Hoodservative takeover. Thank you so much for smashing that Cash App button. Don't forget to smash the like button while you're in here. Thank you, guys.
Hulk! Smash! Smash you! Yeah! You make Hulk angry! You not like Hulk angry! Hulk no like fighting girls.
Laughing Dog says that was a tax-free religious donation since St. Peter was mentioned, by the way. Yeah, you know what? I'll pass that along to my accountant. Thank you so much for that pointer.
That is a fair question.
Yeah.
And I think if Democrats spent more time talking about this is what we've done for brothers, this is what we've done for the working class guy and the guy in the C-suite, you wouldn't have these problems. And it feels like it's—
I mean, I know Democrats, they aren't above lying, but the problem for Democrats is very simple. They cannot get out there and start talking about what they've done for the black man without immediately getting confronted as liars. You have lied. The things that you say benefit me don't benefit me. Like having programs to help illegal immigrants get folded into American society, that shit don't help me. I've been saying this about Stacey Abrams for a week now, since I started talking about this thing with her one-page plan for the black man. A lot of that stuff is like, a lot of what you're about is also helping illegal immigrants. Like, you don't have a plan for me if you're going to help illegal immigrants. Like, women cannot love two men. A man maybe he just might be able to love multiple women, but women can't love multiple men. It doesn't work. Some guy's always going to wind up the eunuch. That's just how it is. When women love multiple men, one of you guys has to be the eunuch. That's just basic human mathematics. If she loves multiple men, one of those guys is the eunuch. All right, one of those guys is like he's like the general laborer, right? Whatever stuff that needs to be done that the main guy doesn't feel like doing, or she doesn't really want him to do, the eunuch has to do. And black men have become the political eunuchs here because the black female political establishment is making relationships with men who are basically our direct competition. How are you going to make plans for our black family and include your Latin lover? You can't plan for your black family and try to pencil in your Latin lover. What the hell is that? What kind of black family is this where you trying to bring your Latin lover down to the job? How am I supposed to trust you when you're trying to get your Latin lover a goddamn job? How am I supposed to look at you as some kind of my partner in this black struggle, and you want to make sure your Latin lover is talking to you at the damn coffee shop? Oh, I mean, you get to see your Latin lover at the water cooler. How does that make sense? How does that help the black family? You trying to get your Latin lover a goddamn job. Let his woman get him a job.
Setting up a blame game so that if Stacey Abrams isn't elected and if Raphael Warnock ends up being defeated, black men will be blamed when in fact, most of the time they're supporting the Democratic Party, even if the Democratic Party doesn't always support them.
Like I said, we need the smoke. And you know what I predict will happen? The more Democrats talk down to black men, the more Democrats struggle with the black men that are running off the plantation. You guys remember that saying from that quote from Star Wars? The tighter you squeeze, the more galaxies will fall through your grip. That's exactly what I see happening. That's exactly where this is going. The tighter you squeeze, the more black men will fall through your grip. And that is a good thing because then it comes war. Then they will openly say black men, unlike the black woman who was a hero of democracy, black men are now renegades against democracy. Yes, that is what we need. Yes, because only then will the majority of you stupid ass dudes wake up to the fact that you are being attacked. They have to attack you openly. See, all this time she been like slipping a finger in your booty and you ain't even noticed. Now she's gonna fist you and you're gonna wake up like, whoa, whoa. Like you see, that's what it's gonna take. That's what it's gonna take. You didn't wake up to the finger in the booty, but you're gonna wake up to the fist. And by the time she can ram a whole fist in there, it's too late. It might just be too late. But that's really what's going to happen. You stood by and let the finger in the booty wiggle around, and now you got to deal with the fist. And I say, you know what? If that's what it takes to wake you niggas up, then so be it. Then so be it. You laid there and let her fist you. You should be angry. You should want to fight. You should be willing to march down to the voting booth. These shitty fist bitches need to go. These shitty fist bitches have done enough. It is time. It's time. It's time. I told you it's time. Every time you see imagery of that black fist in the air, I need you to remember this. That fist is for you. I need you to understand where that fist is, where that fist was ultimately going to go. That black fist, you thought that black fist was against the white man. Ha, joke's on you. Joke's on you, you loose booty nigga. That fist was for you. That fist is for you. You thought the fist was against the white man. No, that black fist was always going to be turned against you, my brother. You just didn't want to do the knowledge, my brother. You let the pro-blacks lull you into a sense of comfort. You let the pro-blacks groom you. That's what happened. You let the pro-blacks groom you, and now that you've been thoroughly groomed by the pro-blacks, you're ready for the fist. And I say no to the fist. I say no to the black fist. No, you will not be coming at me with your stink fist. No. You guys in the chat are going hand with the fist analogy. But that's kind of how I look at it. That fist was always going to be pointed at you. Thank you. Lee Ollie gets it. Yep, that's actually what the fist represented. It was a female deity that hated patriarchy. Yes, that's exactly what the fist is about. They were always going to point that fist at you. They were always going to point the fist at you. And when it gets time, they're gonna hire some dude. They're gonna hire some nigga named Bigger Longer to come at you with the black fist. That's the plan. That is the plan. They're gonna come at you with some dude named Bigger Longer. And I say no. I say no to it all. Look me in my eye, bitch. Don't make me vote against you. Don't make me vote, bitch. I will take. I will put. I will tie this weave up and vote against you. Whatever that hairstyle that Lawrence Fishburne had, that hairstyle Lawrence Fishburne had in. Don't make me wrap my head up and vote against you. This is a wild picture of Lawrence Fishburne, by the way. I can't believe dudes used to really look like this and be killers. Cold-blooded killers used to look like this, by the way. That's one thing that cracks me up about like black music, the whole black like this, the way rap music sort of took this spirit and ran with it. You realize cold-blooded killers used to get in the car with like a body in the trunk and be like, "Ooh, baby, ooh." Like, yo, we went through an interesting era in the 70s and 80s. It was a different time for Black America. We had a lot of contradictions going on in Black America. A guy and bus. Yeah, listen, some jokes other people will not get. That in bus thing is a definite inside joke. You really had to have been there. A lot of people will not get and bus. That's exactly. Yo, listen, man. It was an interesting time, bro. Singing R&B songs, Stone Cold Killers. All them dudes standing around that burning trash can talking about doo wop, doo wop, doo wop. They all chop bodies up. Like it was a different time in Black America. And net wife beaters, yo, it was a different time in Black America, bro. It was a different time. But listen, we can't take our eye off the ball. What do black men get? Like, all right, think about it this way. You know how we have these conversations about black men need to just lead. If the black man would just step up and be the leader that she always wanted, she wouldn't have to be like this, right? She wouldn't be so manly if you actually stood up and did what men do. Now, as much as I hate the tone of that idea, there is a logic to it, right? The higher up masculinity rises, the less masculine the women will become. Well, let me frame it that way. The more masculine the men are, the less masculine the women will be. And frankly, the more masculine the men are, the less you will tolerate masculinity from women. Like dealing with masculinity in your fellow man is work enough, right? That is a job in and of itself, just going out into the world and having to deal with other men and all their goofy shit, right? That's job enough, but at least 9 times out of 10, you get a paycheck behind that, right? Men going out into the world dealing with the bullshit that other men are capable of, more often than not, that there's a paycheck behind that. There's some kind of income behind that. That is the very reason most men leave the house every day, because there's money in it. However, dealing with the masculinity of women, there is no payback in that. There is no payoffs in dealing with masculine women. And so therefore, that logic does hold. Now, what they won't tell you when they make these kind of like bold statements, when they kind of come out the gate with that statement, oh, if you was more of a man, right? What they won't say, and what's sort of written, on the back of the card, it's like in the fine print, right? You're asking me to dethrone you. You're asking men to actually remove women from positions of power and authority. And without, giving into the more base nature of men, without, open revolution and all that jazz, I say you simply vote against them. You vote against them politically, and then here's another move. You quietly vote against them professionally. Yes, yes. How can black men actually claim to be leaders of the black community if you go out of your way to put women in positions of leadership? Rio Blazizo in the chat says you can't remove a woman king. There is an argument to that. I am not going to fight you on. there's an argument to that, your logic does have a thread of consistency to it. I already see where you're going there. So no, I'm not going to fight you on that. I'm just sort of I'm talking past that point for a reason right now. Like I said, I'm just not going to call for revolution on an open airwave. Slide in the DMs and we can talk about overthrowing the government. All right. That's also my dating strategy, by the way. Slide in my DMs and talk about overthrowing the government. That is a time tested dating strategy right there. Resurrect the old king. Yeah, yeah. Go free, walk away, let it burn. Now, see that is where I'm at with the whole concept, Rio Blazizo. When you say you can't remove a woman king, I say the subjects, you can be the queen of the garbage heap. You can reign over all of this failure alone. And that's the only way, like I said, aside from calling for open war, right? Go free, walk away, and let it burn. But as you walk away, don't forget what you walked away from. And so this is why I say, it is time to openly be against the black woman. And mind you, I'm framing all this in the vein of politics and professional professional life. Yeah, yes, that is, revolution is my love language, by the way. Ladies, I'm just so you know, revolution is my love language. But that is kind of where I'm at with it. You kind of have to be willing to throw down the gauntlet, and don't think for a minute that as the political winds change further, as more and more black men find reason to openly revolt against the common black political establishment, they will put the pressure out. They will put the squeeze out. You're seeing it already with these little political moments here where the black political establishment is kind of low key, calling black men out. And they've been doing this for a while, ever since Trump ran the first time. Remember Simone Sanders, why don't black men just shut up? Like, that's basically what they want from you. They want you to shut up and let it happen. And I don't think we need to shut up and let this happen, That's how you got the finger. If you keep your mouth shut any longer, they're going to come at you with the fist, and you don't really want that. I don't think I'm not built for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that type of guy. Now, I want to actually, I wonder if I can actually get this to play properly here, because, I'm dealing with the struggle signal right now. But I want to move on to something else. I haven't actually had the chance to preview this video, but I suspect it's definitely something worth talking about. So I want to play something for you guys here. And we're going to sort of do a live review together. Let me drop Ike for a second. Larry Fishburne / Ike Turner. But, Ike is definitely the spirit animal of the day. Like Ike, if I could be like Ike, oh, if I could be like Ike.
Go to getyourbootytothepole.com to learn where they stand on issues that affect us.
And by us, we mean Black people.
So think about what you want, Georgia. And on January 5th, let's finish what we started.
Get your booty to the...
Oh, was this like an addition to the Get Your Booty to the Poll? I didn't even realize they did that. Oh, wow. And look, and are they kind of low-key mocking? They are mocking the kind of black men. Let me start over. They're mocking the traditional image of black women that black men look up to. So when black men are pledging their allegiance to black women, when black men do these goofy ass videos about why you need to protect black women, why black women have been oppressed and how you can change that, when black men do that kind of stuff, they're talking about these black women, right? They're talking about the black women that have been sort of imprinted on us with that 50s vibe. Like, they're all happy homemakers. Look at them. Damn near all of them are wearing white gloves, except for the one thought on the right. But they're mocking what we actually like about Black women, right? They are making fun of what we love.
The Georgia Senate runoff is January 5th, and early voting starts December 14th. Let's finish what we started. Go to getyourbootytothepoll.com to learn where they stand on issues that affect us.
And by us,
Yeah, yeah, right. I was muted for a second. Now, see, the problem here, and what you can learn from this here is that they don't actually respect us. Like, as a group, Black women don't really have the respect for their men. That kind of goes without saying in any kind of ethnic group. And a large part of that is because Black men have cooperated in placing Black women at the leadership position. As much as Black women have gone renegade and just sort of declared their own independence, Black men have quietly co-signed that. And so because Black men have co-signed Black women's leadership and Black women's independence, you are now in a position of open revolt. Open revolt is your only way out at this point because you've been complacent for so long. You've been complicit in your own defeat for so long. The only way forward now is to be openly hostile to Black female leadership. Because one thing about power, and this is what the guy was saying earlier, Blazizo, this is what he was saying earlier about, you can't just remove a women king, right? Power concedes nothing. And so if you are not willing to actually confront the power directly, you will get nothing. There will be no concession on your behalf, and you will deserve nothing. If you aren't willing to stand up and make your unhappiness known, if you're not willing to be seen as the angry Black man, you will get nothing and you will deserve nothing. I remember before Biden got elected, I was over. I think I was on Art Styles, and he had on this girl I actually follow on Twitter. Her name is Rhonda Mary, I think, and she does YouTube videos every now and then. And Rhonda was up there, and BGS was on. And BGS actually he had the nerve to actually say Black men need to follow the Black Lives Matter party, right? He actually said that Black men need to follow the Black Lives Matter party. And Rhonda asked him flat out, was like, why? And he says, because that's the only way for Black men to get what they want politically. Now, I remember that shit. And no matter what BGS is saying right now about Black men and Black women, I remember him saying Black men need to politically follow and support Black women. And I knew then that was not the move. That won't help you get whatever it is you think you want, you're not going to get it. And strategically, supporting a woman in a leadership position is not going to get you man points in that woman's eyes. Every man that props a woman up into a leadership position is a less of a man in that woman's eyes. I guarantee you. I mean, Frank, listen, if she didn't think you were less of a man, why does she want to be above you anyway? She wants to be above you because she thinks she's bigger than you. And so you promoting her above you only confirms her suspicions that you aren't as big as her, that she is better than you. Why else would you be putting her in a leadership position if you didn't think she was better than you? That's the only way it works. That is exactly how it works. And this is what I mean about, like, the female brain. Men don't really like to really engage or embrace how women think because a lot of women really do think this way. It's very normal to the female psyche. And as a man, as men, if we are to maintain our position as, I'm the man, her, if we're going to do it, if we're actually expect that to mean something, then you cannot allow the woman in on what should rightfully be your position. Muhammad, his face feels wrong because he just got beat up. He just in the movie, I think he was about to slap the shit out of his wife. That's the energy you getting off that face, Muhammad, right now. Muhammad's like, something is wrong with this guy. I don't even know what it is. Muhammad, because he's keeping his woman in check, right? That's why you feel that threatening negative energy coming off of him right now, right? And black men, be the bad guy. You see how uncomfortable you made Muhammad just now? He just walked in the room. He's like, why this nigga look so angry? Embrace that. Embrace that right there. That's what you need. When strange men walk into the room and be like, why he's so angry at her? Embrace that. Yes, like Ike. We all should be like Ike. Oh, we should be like Ike. Like really embrace that. That is what we need. Here's another thing. Here's a red pill for your ass too. Why should men respect men who are led by their women? I mean, seriously, do you think foreign men are used to looking at black men as being in charge? No, no. So when Muhammad looks at Ike with this check a bitch energy, he's like, what's wrong with that nigga? Nothing's wrong with him. Everything is right with him. You just never seen it before. This is what I'm saying. Do you think the men around the world that you're going to have to work with, that you're going to have to make partnerships with if you ever expect to be anything in this life, do you think these men respect black men being led by their women? How do you think that makes us look in the world of men? To be the one group of men known for being their women's political support. That shit is not going to fly. That shit is not going to buy you credits. When it's time to get into the halls of Valhalla, you're going to get laughed out. There is no Valhalla for niggas that vote for their bitch. There is no Valhalla for you. You voted for your bitch, you don't get the rest here. You can't eat with us. Simple as that. You can't eat with us. Oh, you vote for your bitches? You can't eat with us. There is no afterlife for you. You get to burn in hell forever. That's it. That's all you get. You get to burn in hell forever. Because you put the women ahead of the men. And now you want to rest eternally. There is no eternal rest for niggas who put the women in charge. Thor and Odin will smite thee. Thor and Odin will smite thee right out of the halls of Valhalla. And shout out to Dolomite coming through. No, shout out to Dante with the 5-ball cash app. Thank you for that. He says Dolomite coming through. We need more of that old school Dolomite energy. We lost that. And Cute Nerd says, in lieu of burning, you get more time with the shrew wife. I don't know how that's much different, Q. I don't really think we're saying opposing things at this point. I say burn in hell. You say more time with your wife. I don't think we're all that far apart on the issue here. And V says, husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Colossians 3:19. I support this. I don't think that men being in charge, men dominating the women necessitates, brutality and violence, Iron fist, velvet glove. That's kind of how I look at it. Iron fist, velvet glove. A woman, oh, look at Jenny V. A woman should serve at the man's table, not sit and eat. And Jenny, I get it. And here's the thing. Proper women are always welcome at the table. Proper women are always welcome. Proper women have never been excluded from the privileges and the powers that patriarchy can provide you. I know, try saying that 5 times fast, right? But seriously, a proper woman is at home in the patriarchy. Proper women will be supported by the patriarchy. Every now and then, a woman who's cunning enough, a woman who's actually, capable and competent can even hold a position in the patriarchy. I know it kind of goes against what I've been saying for a while, but from a historical context, right? There have been women who rose up and actually gained the respect of men. And it almost goes against nature, but God damn it, it's possible. And so, hell, even those women had to have a lot of men killed to get there, though, right? You see, like, if you don't want her to rise up above you, you better think about where this is going. But no, seriously, the patriarchy, even so-called oppressive patriarchy, it makes space for women, right? So it's not that I'm arguing for brutality against women. What I'm arguing for is actually, you said PMS immoral. That's but no, what I'm arguing for is for men to actually accept that a war is being waged against them. That's simply what I'm saying here. War is being waged against you as men, as black men, from a social perspective, from a voting political perspective. War has been waged against you. From simply your position within the family unit, war has been waged against you. Trying to breed an aggressive female pit bull is the same concept. You can't have no weak male. You need a strong male to dominate her. This is the one thing that Black America has sort of lost the will to discuss, right? If the black woman is a strong figure, right? If the black woman is noticeably stronger, she is from historical context, she has been known to be more aggressive than other women, right? If that is the reputation of black women, when you're asking black men to lead black women who are known to be more dominant, more argumentative, more aggressive, aren't you asking the black man himself to be even more dominant, even more argumentative, even more aggressive, right? So if black women really are these dominant, strong, aggressive figures that we kind of have been knowing them as, right? If they really are what their reputation says they are, then for us to now lead them as they say we should, right? Doesn't it mean we have to be even more aggressive, even more dominant? When do we get to match their energy, right? That is really what's being called for here. Don't you have to match her energy if she really expects you to step up and do something? Isn't that what's being called for here? If she is dominant, if she is aggressive, if she is bossy, and you're supposed to lead her, don't you have to be even more of all of those things? And so once you embrace that, how can you vote for her? How can you vote to put her ahead of you? It's foolish and dangerous. V in the chat says it's foolish and dangerous to submit to a man who is not submitted to God and has no sense of honor, respect, or willing to sacrifice for his family. V, I think that goes without saying. And I almost get the feeling you're a woman making these comments here. That all goes without saying. And frankly, V, that's a woman's problem. That is a woman's problem. And honestly, what that got to do with me? And I'm not asking that question directly to you as an individual, but in the sense that a woman's job is to find a man who is submitted to God and has a sense of honor, respect, and willing to sacrifice. If that's what women are supposed to get, go for it. But what that got to do with me? That's your job as a woman, right? You go find that. You go find that man, and you figure out a way to be welcome at his table. But what that got to do with me? And see, that's the reason why I say that, and the reason why I throw it back at you like that, Z, is because that is another problem I think that needs to be addressed in the face of black politics, right? Black women have demand. Women in general have demands, right? Women have demands, and they want those demands met, and they don't care who meets them as long as they get what they're asking for, right? I think when it comes to black women's demands, so long as black men are not seen as the de facto leaders of the community, so long as black men are seen as the second option when it comes to black issues, black women are the go-to, right? Black women are the main support for the Democrat Party, as they say. So as long as these things remain in play, when black women present their demands to black men, our response should be, what does that have to do with me? Because look, even when it comes to issues of violence and women being abused and all that, unless you're the actual man who abused an actual black woman, the response should always be, what does that have to do with me? Followed up by, what have you done for me lately? I mean, you are coming to me with all these demands. You're coming to me with all of these requirements. Black girls need magic. Black girls need to rock too. Black girls need love. Black girls need support. Okay, two questions. What does that have to do with me? And what have you done for me lately? And you know what, Trey? I'm kind of with you on that. And this is why I say black men need to just be at war with black politics. As a black man, black politics doesn't serve you. This is something I wanted to bring up and when I was with Bernard yesterday, but the panel was kind of full and I didn't really feel like going too deep in it. I was letting other people sort of have their voice, but there's another question that I kind of want to raise as a black man, right? You know what? Maybe I should actually type this out. I'm going to make this a banner here because we can talk about this for a few minutes here. This has been a question on my mind for a while now, and I think we need to embrace it directly, especially in this moment of political questioning where the Democrat Party is openly struggling with the black vote, where the Republican Party doesn't necessarily know how to appeal to the black male vote. I think black men need to really ask the question, what has black politics done for black men? You know what? Now that I look at it, I like these two images on the screen here. This is almost like, don't make me vote against you. And what has politics done for black men? That is the equivalent of what that got to do with me and what have you done for me lately? This is an idea I brought up with Bernard yesterday. Be more selfish. Be politically selfish. Hell, be selfish socially. What's the point of making women equal if you're going to go out your way to do shit for them? You don't go out your way to do shit for a bunch of dudes, right? Right. It's because you don't want to fuck dudes. That's why you don't go out your way to do shit for them. Well, unless you're fucking her, why do you go out your way to do shit for her? Don't help women. I know it sounds crass, right? But don't help women. If women are your equal, why are you going out of your way for them? You should only be going out of the way for the women in your life because arguably you're going to get something out of that, right? So we're back to these original questions. What that got to do with me and what have you done for me lately? But in all seriousness, though, I want to get to this original question here. What has black politics done for black men? Yeah, made them cucks. How about that? Made them cucks. Damn it. Damn it, Trey. SKC in the building. He says, formula. Black politics is downstream of black culture. Black men and black women don't get that. Their backward culture creates backward politics. I think I could probably explore. I don't disagree with that, but I think there are some angles to that aren't obviously visible when you present this argument here. I think it's a little bit of a feedback loop, SKC. I think there is a feedback loop happening with black politics and black culture. And this is why I say the only appropriate way forward is to kind of break the wheel. You have to kind of put like a like with a bicycle, you throw a stick right in the spokes and the wheel can't move anymore. I think we're in a point of like a feedback loop. The political power of the female oriented the political power that surrounds the female voice, the political power that supports the female way of things, it is creating downstream culture pressures, right? And so, yes, in a certain sense, that politics does come from the bottom up. It rises, it follows where culture is. I think that there is room for for example, the fact that abortion is legal allows for far more abortion than otherwise. And that was a law that made culture change, right? So I think we're in a place with Black America where there's definitely a feedback loop happening where it's not just that the culture at the bottom is making the culture at the top possible. The culture at the top is its own thing. It's like an organism, and any organism is going to fight for its existence, right? And so, in doing so, it's going to try to create an environment that is conducive to its existence. So, as a Black woman who's in politics, it probably doesn't support your role, broadly speaking, if you support the nuclear family. Because the nuclear family necessitates men being in charge for the most part. So as a Black woman who kind of got into this position by being a strong Black woman, you're not really going to promote the culture that would require, Black America to heal itself. And so that's what I mean by a little bit of a feedback loop here. Cute Nerd said, I would have voted for Ike if he ran for office. Hold up, V. What are you saying now? I don't disagree, V. I don't disagree. If Black men want to be heard, then they must get up, run for office, become judges, lawyers that give you power in the system. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But that is not the problem that I think is at play here. It's not that there are no Black men running for positions of power. It's not that there are no Black men already in positions of power. It's that Black men in positions of power exist to make Black women happy. Because the Black male vote has been quiet and happy to sort of support the Black female vote, what's wound up happening is that the vision and the view of the women is the primary goal of the leadership. It's the primary goal of even our Black male politicians. And so what you get with Black male politicians is a platform that is female centered. And that is the problem. It makes no sense. It serves no purpose for Black men to vote for Black men who support Black women, right? I'm better off voting for a woman. Voting for the man who is only going to promote the women's leadership is tantamount to voting for the woman, and you might as well remove the middleman. That's just an extra job you got to pay for. So just vote for the woman if that's your position. So no, this is why I don't really say just vote for the man. No, we are voting specifically against the female interest. We are voting against a certain way of being, right? Voting against a certain type of worldview. You are voting against a certain way of looking at the world. So it's not just that I have to vote for a Black man. Why? All right, like we were talking about this earlier, between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker, I would much rather vote for Herschel Walker. Not that Herschel Walker is, openly he's not a misogynist the way I am, right? But he's a little bit closer to it than, say, a Raphael Warnock, who will most definitely vote to put women over men. And so that is the issue at hand here. It's not just vote for the man. No, every vote is a vote against female leadership. How about that? Every man I vote for is a vote against female leadership. That is the point that I'm trying to get out to you. How can we look women in the eye and say we deserve to be in charge when we're just going to turn to her and be like, you should be out there. You should have this job too, boo. You should be up there. You should be strong as me. I'm strong. You should be strong too. How do we even deserve to be like this bitch? She's not gonna fuck with us like that. But that's the position that black men have been in for a while, making your woman just as strong as you are. Yeah, I know. Will Herschel Walker is a man's man. Too bad it didn't rub off on his son. I know Christian Walker. He's little light skinned twink. I know. Whatever. No, nobody bats 1,000 in the game of life. No one bats 1,000 in all 9 innings, right? That's just you got to take the good with the bad. But even his son is on the right to some degree, so at least he got something out of it. At least he got that much going, right? But whatever, you can't win them all, right? Now, in black circles, you're gonna get looked at a little harsh. People will definitely raise an eyebrow at you when you say things like openly vote against female leadership because so many of us have been we've been raised by our mama. So many of us are accustomed to having our mamas make decisions, right? And part of me thinks it's on purpose. Like I said, if you're a woman who believes in female leadership, why would you ever do anything that puts men in a position of authority over you? But you got to understand, embrace the conflict, accept that you will be disliked, right? Accept that what you're after is going to ruffle some feathers. It's going to raise some eyebrows because, I mean, frankly, do you want to win or not? That is the only way I can really frame this without, pussyfooting around. There's no need to sugarcoat things. Do you want to win or not? If you want to win, embrace being the bad guy. That applies to, life in general. That's just, manhood rules. In order to win, sometimes you have to be the bad guy. In order to get what you want, in order to actually have what you need, and sometimes you have to embrace being the bad guy. I mean, leadership in and of itself is a position that requires you to embrace being the bad guy. And so at this moment where the politics anyway, and politics is, like SKC said, it is downstream of culture. So it makes perfect sense that after a couple of years of a visible gender war, that politics is now noticing the men moving away from the female voting bloc, right? That all makes perfect sense. It all lines up well. Now, again, if you're going to say to women, we would rather have men in positions of leadership, you have to not only vote against them, you have to be open and visible about it. Because like it or not, women have been open and vocal and visible in their dislike for male leadership. Why is it women get to be open and vocal about not liking male leadership, but men are not allowed to be vocal about not liking female leadership? And quiet is kept, when you catch them in moments of honesty, women don't like women leaders. How about that? How many stories have we read where, an all female workforce fell apart because of, backbiting and commotion and drama, and some girl was screwing some girl's husband? Like, women don't even like women. If you really want to keep it a buck, women can barely stand women. You know why? Because most women aren't trying to sleep with each other. So, and women know women way more intimately than men will ever know women. And when it comes down to it, women damn near hate each other. So why are we putting in positions of leadership over us when they don't even want to lead themselves? This is why most of the time when look at Hillary versus Trump. Women voted against Hillary. Women voted for Trump, especially, white women in general. Like, women were like, nah, I don't like that bitch. Like, women were voting against other women. Hell, if you really want to get, I think there are times where women can be just as misogynist as men. and I respect that. I really do. I respect the hell out of female misogyny. Paul Gaines says a lot of black men have the philosophy of WWMD. What would mama do? I think that is subconsciously true. I don't know if that's ever been like, an actual catchphrase. It's never been a real hashtag probably, but I think subconsciously there is some element of that. Cause like if you're raised by your father and you have your father's example of, how to be, how to interact with the world, how to solve problems and whatnot, I think it goes to say that if you're raised by your mother and you don't have your father's influence, if like say your mother was the influence in your life as a boy, then yeah, it does go it seems safe to say that you would think about what would mama do. And again, you wouldn't even frame it that way in your mind. Your mind would already be framed that way because of your mom raised you. Look, Ruckus Buck says my wife hates female NFL, NBA, and MLB reporters. Yeah, yeah. But and you see, I think I think we kind of have to accept a certain truth here. There are powers that be that may want to promote women over men. Like the Rothschilds and that whole deal, right? This is also why I don't really get into like white supremacy and all that. I think that Illuminati Rothschild stuff kind of supersedes white supremacy in large part. So I care to not go down that rabbit hole of the white man, this and that. I think there are way bigger games being played. But the powers that be definitely like the idea of women being promoted over men, right? So when it comes to when it comes to men actually regaining control of the situation, I think that's one of those things that sort of gets left out of the conversation. And I know I'm kind of fumbling here. I'm going somewhere. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. For race relations in this country to get to a more honest place, the men have to shut the women up. And I just mean that as bluntly as I put it. In order for race relations to get to a more honest place, to a more honest discussion, the women have to be quieted. I get that women have their own experiences with things, her truth and all that deal. But if we are ever going to get to a workable solution here, it's not going to happen with women leading the discussion. Okay, there may be room for a woman, and so like I said, the patriarchy will allow for women here and there, right? So there may be room for a woman to rise up at some time or another and have a voice in the conversation. But by and large, Lou, actually, I ain't even been drinking yet. It was a little early, but it's Sunday and it's after 3 o'clock. Hell, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? I think I should pour me a drink. I've just been smoking. But no, men are going to have to quiet the women. And so that would mean if Black America is going to get out of this rut in terms of like race relations, it's not even a rut. If Black America is going to get out of this negative downward spiral of increasing demands, not increasing demands, but increasingly intractable demands, right? That's really where Black America is headed in terms of race relations. Like listen, reparations is an intractable demand. There is no practical way forward. There is no moral argument that supports it, and it will be forever used to herd Black people into a particular voting direction, right? So until we can get men who are of sound body and mind to actually deal with the conversation without the influence of angry emotional women, the problem will not solve itself. The problem will not be solved. And so this is what I'm saying, like, you can't have women all in the mix if you really want to get to a better place in terms of race relations. It's just not going to happen. And frankly, as many men as there are who are able to profit off of the current state of affairs in race relations, you know, your Ibram Kendis and even guys like your Umar Johnson and all that, as much as there are men who are able to profit in this realm is incredibly dominated by women. Why? Because this realm is a part of what we call like the grievance industry. The grievance industry is a female centered, female oriented realm. It's an industry that is almost a female creation, right? Men, black men in particular, have to be willing to go against the victimhood industry. You know, yesterday when I was saying, you know, in the black male, how to win the black male vote, I laid it down to three broad pillars, right? Family court, immigration, and entitlement reform. Make fighting racism. Well, let me not say it that way. The less profitable fighting racism is, the less people will engage in it, right? And that's kind of the problem that you see with this whole race thing. And that's also how you know racism isn't a huge deal in America the way the professionals would tell you it is. If racism was that pertinent to America, you couldn't get rich fighting it. Like let's say you're in China, right? You don't get rich in China fighting the Chinese government. That's not how that works. If you live in China and you hate communism, you are not going to make money. And so the idea that a guy like Kendi can exist in America fighting racism and then make money off of it, obviously something isn't true here. And so I kind of went down a little bit of a tangent here, but that was, you know, that it kind of led me down this path when I say the men got to quiet the women, because only a room full of men will ever be able to sort out this complex race issue. And then here's the other side of that. Once the men sort it out, you just present it to the women. These are the new rules now. I know it sounds simple, but it's only beautiful in that it only sounds simple, but it's beautifully complex, right? That's kind of where I was going. It sounds simple, but it is beautifully complex because it's no simple issue to sort out the race politics of America. But I don't see it as men being able to do this and pleasing the women. You're not going to sort out racial issues in America and keep all the women happy. It's just not going to happen. And so remove the women from the conversation. Chukwu Igwe says economic power can buy political power. The more black men increase our economic power, the more we can influence the political process with lobbyist donations and funding candidates who benefit us. Absolutely, absolutely. There is another way forward, Chukwu, that I said. Well, this is something I say every so often, and I think it needs to be looked at more and more. As time goes on, there is an ultimate trump card that men hold over women. When it comes to politics, well, hell, when it comes to the majority of anything in life, there's a one final trump card that men hold over women, and it will get you to a better place more often than not. And that is the power of no. Simply not participating, right? I look at this in terms of, say, like a woman like Oprah, right? Oprah Oprah's show would have never risen to where it was if not for like all of I don't know the names of the individual jobs, but like all of the faceless, nameless people who make a Hollywood set function. Like if you ever think about all the little jobs that have to get done so the people on stage can do their big job, most of those people are men, right? The guy holding the mic, you know, like the boom mic, you know, it's a dude. If somebody needs to be, you know, flown across stage like Spider-Man, there's a dude at the other end of that rope. if the spotlight, the actual spotlight needs to be tilted onto someone, there's probably a guy turning that spotlight. Men make the world that women destroy. Men are responsible for every creature comfort in life that women enjoy. And I think it will definitely take some time and a little bit of prodding, but there will come a day where men nationally go on strike. All right, I am willing this into existence. I'm by the power of my individual brain. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to will this into existence. Before I am dead and buried, there will be a day when every man in America goes fishing, just for the day, National Fishing Holiday. And I know not everybody's into fishing. Some of you guys like to bowl. Some of you guys like to hunt. Some of you guys just want to stay home and watch WWE or whatever. But that is the final ultimate trump card. All right, conscious moron, I see you laughing down there, and then, whatever. But let me ask you this. Would black feminism be anywhere near where it is if black men didn't support it every step of the way? SKC, we're going to come back to that. But I'm conscious moron. Would black feminism be a thing if black men didn't support it every step of the way? If we didn't have guys like, your Amiris and your conscious morons and all sorts of the whole menagerie of black men over time who have pushed women, have propelled women into positions of power and authority, would any of this happen if black men didn't support them? If black men weren't there to, carry the bags, lift the heavy boxes, make sure the power was on, make sure the heat works. I mean, on a base level, leave them in the cold. Hell, you know what? I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that. Take her fishing while you're out there. I mean, hell, you're not doing anything else that day. But the bigger picture is that black men in general, your political power isn't just in the vote. As men, our political power is economic. Male tax dollars make this thing happen. This entire boat would sink if it were not for a constant influx of male tax dollars, right? That applies as well when it comes to black female initiatives. Black men cannot afford to support women who turn around and say they don't need us. I mean, that is actually the end result of supporting women. That is the final conclusion of supporting women. You get a bunch of women who say, you know what, I'm here, I'm good now. I don't actually need you. And so that's kind of the problem in a nutshell. Why should we support the women who don't support us? V says men are irreplaceable and much needed. However, most women don't trust most men because too many use their leadership for power and control through domination. I have no problem with power and control or domination. V, you're just gonna have to suck it up, Cupcake. V, that is in order to get what you truly want and need, I have to have power, control, and a little bit of domination, V. That's the only way for you to get what you truly need. So, like I said, suck it up, Cupcake. A little bit of medicine won't kill you. Conscious Moron says, as a man, that's what you do. I thought you have to know how to pick the right one to do it for. Perhaps that's not a conversation. I think you're making a different conversation, though. You're not exactly going against my point. However, I think that's a different kind of point. Freedman's Journal says most men are powerless. That's BS. Yes and no. I see what you mean. Like, listen, if you quit your job in protest of women's rights, they're just going to replace you, right? I see what you mean, Freedman's Journal, and I'm not saying I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. Really, what I'm talking about is the power of the group. Most men are powerless, right? But the men as a whole are not powerless. And it's a weird sort of gap in between there. Like, how do you go from most men being individually powerless to to men as a group having power? And I think it's, that's where the black politics isn't wrong. There is power in solidarity. I just don't know that racial solidarity is beneficial to black men. I think male solidarity will be far more beneficial to black men than purely racial solidarity. And he says, okay, that was to V's point. And that is a good point, honestly. Most individual men don't have raw power over the woman in their life. It's always a negotiation and a trade-off in the long run. The woman negotiates and trades off with the man. So even in good traditional stable relationships where the woman isn't really against the man having authority, that is something she concedes, right? And I think as modern women, I think that's something that should be kind of it should be discussed more. Being born in this time and era in our country, right? I don't know that women get told this in a obvious, direct way, but in order for modern women to really inhabit the relationship space in a productive way, they have to be willing to concede some of their modern independence and their modern abilities. And it doesn't work if he has to beat it out of you. If he has to break you like a wild stallion, it doesn't quite work. And that's kind of the position that black women put black men in, right? You have to break her like a stallion. And in the process of breaking her, she might grow to hate you. And so even after you broke her, she'll just be working against you from now on anyway, right? That doesn't work. So from the women's point of view, you have to concede. Now, the problem is most women aren't really willing to concede anything, right? So this is why we're having, politics is war by other means conversations, because maybe women on the whole have to be just addressed, right? Maybe men have to be willing to embrace the gender war. I think that's kind of the deal. Men have to embrace the gender war. If you want to win the gender war, I mean, how can you win a war that you're not willing to fight? Shout out to Lorenzo Davis. He says, we men need to put race behind us and start with logic and stand up for the male agenda. Absolutely. I think the male agenda supersedes any racial agenda, period. And frankly, like even yesterday when I was doing the show about how to win the black male vote, I didn't raise any idea that was uniquely black male. And see, look, and I was upfront about it as the conversation went on. I think Trey came on the panel and made a certain point, and I had to kind of add on to it. Like the reason why I framed things the way I did is because one, look, politics lies to black men about helping black men, and then turn around and doing things that are going to help everybody, right? I'm going to be upfront about this. I don't have a racial solution for black men. I have common sense solutions for black men. And I will present those common sense solutions to a black man, to black men rather, right? But I am not going to lie to you and tell you that I'm here to save you as a black man. No, 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 no. I'm here to talk to you as a man. You're black, I'm black, and that's great and all, but I think I have a better idea about what works. And I think that is the way you kind of embrace that. And also in the spirit of, voting against the women, women are dominating the racial politics game. Race politics is how a lot of women have risen to the top, all right? Because once we started going down on this idea of if you're black, you're guaranteed to be oppressed, you're guaranteed to be, in the losing position of something, right? Well, people have extrapolated that idea into what we get intersectional politics from. This is where, like, yesterday, the nameless protagonist kind of did an explanation of how we even built the whole intersectional politics machine. But basically, once you accept the race game, as once you accept the victimhood game, it makes perfect sense for women to claim their piece of victimhood, and women will forever be bigger victims of anything than men. And so that is how we allow the women to rise up. And so, in the spirit of black men voting against black women, you got to vote against the race politics, all right? And I'm not going to go out on any extreme tangent and say race isn't real or racism isn't real. I'm not going down that far. However, I think gender differences are a lot more visible and a lot more politically important than racial difference, right? Gender difference is way more valid than racial difference. And in conclusion, and I'm actually going to throw the link in the chat at this point. But as I'm looking at the screen and I'm asking, what has black politics done for black men? Let me ask a further question. What has fighting racism done for black men? I mean, we've been fighting racism at least for my lifetime. And all the years that I've been alive, we've been fighting racism. And I don't know that, it's made my life tangibly better, right? So I have to ask the question, what has fighting racism done for black men? It's done wonders for black women. Fighting racism has propelled black women to heights never ever before imagined. Like, can you think of day one of the end of slavery? Black women never imagined they'd be in this position, right? Fighting racism got them there. It didn't do that for black men.
We are absolutely winning right now. Absolutely. We have done more than change the conversation. We changed the balance of power in the federal government.
And so, like I said, I threw the link in the chat here. I've been ranting for almost 2 hours now, which is rare for me. I don't usually rant for this long. I usually got about an hour in me. Must be Sunday, Must be Sunday. I must be filled with the Spirit.
Get it again. Okay, I'm going to say it again. I come in the name of Jesus. Repeat it after me, bitch. I come in the name of Jesus by the power of the Holy Spirit.
But that kind of is the question for the day. In the spirit of voting against black women specifically, I need to ask the question, what has black politics done for black men? I don't think it's served us well, and I think we should just accept that, or at least have an honest discussion about that, and then let the chips fall where they may. We got two of my favorite people on the panel right now, SKC and Freedmen's Journal. Welcome to the show, SKC. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to keep Ike up on the screen for a while, so just let your voice be heard, SKC. SKC, are you there, good brother?
Hey, what's going on? I
Oh,
just had a question, then I'll defer to Freeman. How can you continue to try to family build with people who oppose you politically?
you can't and I won't. Next question.
All right, so we're doing the whole vote thing, right? I think it's just fait accompli, dude. It's already happening, right? The just Brothers was agency, right? And the black men that haven't been like eating from the, Democrats are the good guys, Republicans are racist trough their whole life, are like, hey, I don't see any value there, right? So I'm just gonna go over here. Right, that coalescing of men around the GOP is happening. That's why I'm like, dude, it's over, right? The whole thing. I mean, what happens in Georgia is going to tell you a lot, and I mean a lot, because if they come out, I mean, and it will happen quick too, right? Now, hey, Hood, do you remember who's that lady, Cindy Sheehan?
That sounds vaguely familiar. Why do I remember that name?
Because they used her during the Bush administration to pillory him over the Iraq War, right? The Democrats.
Her son died, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
it was Machiavellian, dude. It was amazing. It was awesome. I gotta tip my hat. Democrats weaponized that woman's grief like nobody's business, dude. Like the Iliad. I mean, it was epic, right? But as soon as she became not valuable, they kicked her to the curb immediately, like she had never existed. So when black women cannot deliver black men to get them elected, what do you think is going to happen? Culturally as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And this is why I was saying in the beginning, when that comes, black women, from a political standpoint, black women are going to look at black men like you didn't support us, and I'm going to say yes, yes, that's me. That was all me.
and then what? Right? But then what happens after that? They're culturally adrift. Let's say black women's subculture, that happens and they just turn on black men. And you didn't do this and you didn't that, and yada, 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 yada. How long is that going to last? How long do you think they can keep that up culturally before they figure out that they have no other link to mainstream American culture besides black men?
Well, we are in that moment now, and this is why I say, one, men should sort of accept the fact that there is some sort of conflict being waged against the male position. And then beyond that, two, once you accept that there's conflict being waged against you, you engage. And so if black women can take some kind of election loss and then turn around and hold black men's feet against the fire, good. What have you done for me lately? Oh, you didn't get your job? What that got to do with me?
Yep. And I think, well, the kind of metric I'm looking for, Hood, is like an interracial dating movie, right? That's positive, but it stars a black man. You know what I mean? Not like what is it? All those interracial dating movies are a white man and a black woman, right?
A lot of them, yeah.
So a positive love story that just happens to have a black man as the lead, right? And whoever, non-black woman, don't matter. That culturally would be like, what?
Hey, Conscious Moron, I always like to have an opposing view on the panel if I can get the opportunity. So if you want to take the link and be the opposing view, go for it.
Yeah, you know what? I think he's right, but I don't think it matters because the black men that aren't into politics still aren't into politics. It's the people who are coming into politics that are making the difference, right? Not the people that have been there voting Democrat. I really don't expect them to all of a sudden get on board GOP. They're most likely going to not vote, right?
I don't.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry I cut you off. I don't know that black men voting against black women that directly, especially framing it that way, I don't know that that's going to bring black men into politics per se. And so I wouldn't try it on that term. I'm just sort of making a particular point on this show. But I think when it comes to the red pill, right? I think that is more of an avenue to bring men in general into politics. And so from that position, you could openly say, vote against black women. But I think a more broad appeal would be vote for your power back. And I think that's how you bring black men, especially black men, back into power, back into politics. It's you talk to them about their individual agency. But in order to fully maximize your individual agency, you need to also maximize your power individually. And that is how I think you speak to black men and then bring them into the vote. But we got two other people on the panel. First up, we got Reckless Ray. I'd like to get your opinion on things, Reckless Ray, before we get too far.
What's good, brother? I randomly found your stream. I just wanted to stop by and show some support because you're talking about some points that I definitely agree with. The pushback that I have is when it comes to voting our way back into power. You can look at what's happened with this Roe v. Wade overturnment where the states get to decide. So it's an interesting concept, but if you look at what's happened, like I'm in Kansas, we are a conservative state. All those women gathered together and said, no, we want to do what we want to do. So how do you vote your power back if when it comes to an intersectional issue with men versus women, regardless of whether those women have blue hair or they're conservative as the day is long, at the end of the day, they're still women. And there's way more of them than us.
Frankly, and you're not wrong. And I get that. I remember when that happened, and I didn't like to see it happen, but it did happen. I can't promise you a win. I can only promise you conflict because that's what's coming.
No, I 100% agree with you on that. That was my one question. And but like that does, like on that same note,
Hey,
I'm not
can I answer that?
What was that?
I said, can I answer that question for you?
Shoot.
Yeah, step and answer it real quick.
Okay, so we see men coalescing around the GOP, right? So we know, like, just things don't move statically. So if, let's say, 80% of men vote GOP, are 80% of women going to vote for Democrats? They're not, right? They're not. We know married women tend to vote Republican, and also we know that women will follow men, right? So it's more like if 80% of men start voting with the Republicans, you have more like 30 to 40% of women doing the same, right? Let's say. So that subsumes, right, the what is it? The women doing their thing, right? And we kind of see that happening already, and it's going to differ from state to state, right? It's going to differ from municipality to municipality, right? I mean, basically, I would say Kansas was aware and they were ready, right?
Right.
I mean, that was the whole point of the league, right? So they could get ready, and Kansas did, and that's what happened. So, and to another person's point, yeah, men are into politics like that, but there's no but. They aren't into politics like that. What I'm saying is they don't necessarily have to be, right? They just have to be the cohort that politicians need to poll, right? And then they'll start polling and see what does the aggregate want, right? It's more up to special interest groups to advertise to the aggregate so that they will, answer the polling questions correctly so they can get their policy preferences in.
Okay. I don't look at politics as like necessarily a team sport. So like I don't necessarily agree. I don't agree with the GOP at all. Like I'm a conservative. I generally vote Republican. I'm a registered libertarian. I just don't vote for people that are stupid. So like if you have dumb policies, because I do read them and I am involved in politics in my state, like I met with a bunch of the candidates in person running for treasury office because we have a really corrupt treasurer that's a Republican, and other Republicans know that as well. So trying to get that guy out, we were not successful. But when you're talking about issues where it's like you're giving up power, even conservative women shifted on that specific issue because they were like, hey, even though you may not agree with this, you're giving up an option.
I think that's the point of me saying that you kind of have to embrace the conflict.
Yeah.
As men, I believe we're in a position, and this is why I kind of speak to men more broadly than I just speak to black men, because I think the problems are more masculine than they are racial.
100% correct. 100% correct, sir.
At this point, we are back so far into a corner that conflict with women on a political level is the only way forward. So, I mean, like I said, I can't promise you a victory on every front, but I can promise you that you're going to have to fight if you want to win.
Oh, 100%. And I'm with you on that. The other question that I had was, because like when we were talking about, like, obviously, like if we're making a play to get things back in order the way they should be, because in all honesty, at the end of the day, if we don't, this society fails. Like we just have no historical context for when all the power is given over to the women, that society just works out and things are great.
Now, in that spirit, I know Contras Moron, you were sort of asking me some kind of direct questions about, am I upset that women are in the political game or something to that effect? So now please take a moment to explain your pushback to this whole thing today. Welcome to the show.
What's going on? I appreciate you having me up. What's going on, everybody on the panel?
What's good, man?
My thing is that women have been in the game. So if they get results, it's because they've been in the game. And black men particularly haven't been in the game. And like you got to vote every election. You got to be there at the PTA meetings and all of them county meetings. And black men don't do that. But black women have been doing that for decades.
I'm not fighting you on that.
So I'm saying this is the result of all that work they've been putting in. And then y'all talking about catching up. It's going to be hard to do it because, like I said, you got to almost be at every meeting, every little bullshit, on the local level. initially to get those people in power so they can start affecting people at the state level, which would then affect the people on the federal level. Like, so that's going to take 2 and 3 terms at least. But like, as men, we don't really have any lobbyists in place for anything like that to start happening. So like, we behind the 8 ball. So that conflict you talking about, like, we gonna lose, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, like I said to the previous speaker, I can't promise you a victory, but you're not going to win if you don't fight. And so if you can acknowledge that we're going to lose, let me ask you what it is that you think that we have to lose right now.
It's not what you talking about, trying to gain the political power that man once exuberated back, I guess, in the 50s and the 60s.
Well, not even so much in that context, just not even trying to regain what we had in the 50s per se, but I think we are not fighting the battle anywhere near to the degree that women are fighting the battle. Like, women will openly say they don't want, male leadership, right? Men don't say things like that. And I think that's, you're not willing to engage. And so if you're not even going to engage, what do you expect to get, though?
What do you mean, man, don't say anything like that?
Like, from a mainstream standpoint, Black women are openly allowed to say that they don't like the idea of a Black man being in charge, right? But when it comes to something like politics, a Black man is not allowed to say that.
They're openly allowed to say that they should be deleting Black babies, male
Thank
babies.
you.
Like, they're openly
Right.
allowed to
So
say
you
that.
telling me Black men haven't said anything negative against Black women on social media? Like, I mean, they just was. Hold on a second. And I think
one at a time. Conscious, make your point, please.
We get caught up in words too much, and I understand that words have power, but like, it's actions. Like, they can say shit, but has that really stopped any Black babies from being born?
Well, I'm not having a conversation about words today. I'm giving a specific
I'm
course
just
of action.
saying. That's I'm saying, as Black men,
have the highest abortion rates.
Like, even with the woman king, that type of shit, like, we get too caught up in like phrases instead of fucking actions. Excuse my French, instead of actions. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Again, this is a conversation about a course of action, though. So to your point, I started from that point.
When you say that Black women have been in the game, like, are you realizing that the policies that are in place put them in a position to where they are able to get in the game? Because when you hire a Black woman, you get to check 2 boxes as a minority over a Black man. White man, you get no boxes. White woman, you get a box that's a minority box. So they were navigated into a position that destabilized our culture because they get 2 boxes.
Why do you think they get 2 boxes, though?
Because they are Black and a woman. That's 2 minorities.
So do you think being Black and being a woman is hard? Is that what they're saying?
I don't care. What does that have to do with me?
No, I'm just saying, with that.
No, conscious. I'm
just saying.
I need you to answer the question directly.
Because it's hard for a woman, and especially if you're Black, right? That's why they get
no.
But
I need you. I get you, but I need you to answer this question directly. What does that have to do with me? It's hard being a Black woman, so.
It's hard being a Black man, so I mean, how is that?
Okay, then. So it's a wash.
Execute the rules you want to make.
So, well, no.
And that's the kind of the thing, y'all kind of blaming Black women for being Black. And you a Black man, you man.
No.
But you're not answering the question, bro. That's kind of what the point is.
What's the question?
Right. What does if it's hard being a Black woman? If it's hard being a Black woman, what does that have to do with me?
Being a Black man?
I'm not a Black woman, so what the fuck does it have to do with me? I don't care if it's hard being a Black woman.
I don't understand why are you complaining about it.
She doesn't care how hard is it. She doesn't care how hard it is for me. Like,
who doesn't care?
Right, you are kind of gaslighting right now. But I invited you up here for that purpose, so I'm not going to shit on you.
Women who don't even know you or care about what?
Hold on.
Right.
Can we talk
about women in your life don't care about?
One at a time, guys, because it is like 5 against 1. So, conscious, we're going to let other people get in for a second.
I'm ready. No, go ahead.
No. Okay, so I'm just dialing this back. I'm not saying that it's not harder. What I'm saying is, if I am more qualified for a position, and then there's a Black woman that's a little less qualified, she's going to get that C-suite position. I'm not complaining. I own a business. Like, I'm good, bro. And I honestly don't believe that there's too many. I mean, if you're leveling a playing field and it's just, we're just people, I don't feel that there's too many people that are going to compete with me head to head that are women, period. Because I just don't see it. I don't see it working.
That's all you need.
So But what I'm saying is,
nobody can be a better you than you.
So if you're putting in a policy to destabilize a group of people, you would do something like that because then you see less value in the men of your group because you have destabilized that power structure. That's all I'm saying. And I'm going to leave it at that because that's literally what that
should we do like you just did and start our own businesses and work together with each other and not even
100%.
worry about that system that was created to hold us back?
100%.
Shouldn't we be doing that
instead
of complaining about the system that is against us? That's what I'm saying. At some point, we can't keep complaining about the system that we know is against us. We have to create our own system.
Well, no, hold on. The position we're in, and citizens, I want you to come in next on this. I think the position that I want people to sort of accept, or at least what I've been talking about all of this show today, is the fact that men don't acknowledge that there is a problem. And so first you acknowledge that, like you said, she's kind of made all these gains at our expense sometimes. Right. I don't know that we can go forward without acknowledging that. But before you respond, Conscious, I want to get Citizen Lou in on this conversation.
Hey, what's going on, bro? I wanted to come with a proper disagreement. Not necessarily disagreement, but not. I'm really coming from a place of understanding. Like, I understand what you mean by vote against Black women, but could you explain to me what that looks like per se? Like, when I say vote against, does that mean voting Republican? Or does that mean not voting at all? Does that mean abstaining to vote? Does that mean what? Like, could you help me out with that real quick?
Actually, all three of those kind of work for the idea that I'm putting forward.
Okay, so
here.
just totally not a line. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I think from my position as I'm not a member of the Republican Party, but I'm more likely to vote Republican than I'll ever vote Democrat. I'll probably never vote for a Democrat ever again. And I mean what I say. I'll probably never vote for a Black woman ever again, just on a strength, because I don't know how much you've listened to. I've been making an argument that from this gender war perspective, right, this idea that Black men aren't leading the community and Black women have had to step up. I think for Black men to properly address that idea, whether you think it's wrong or true or whatever, I think to address it properly would require Black men directly confronting Black female political power.
Okay.
So in the spirit of like winning the gender war, how do you not confront female political power?
Okay.
What are you going to confront it with, though?
Your own political power.
And where's that at?
Exactly. That was kind of my point earlier. But I mean,
we have no political power. We don't even have a lobbyist group.
Maybe.
No, it's no maybe. It's a fact. Like,
well, I'm saying maybe to the idea we have no power.
Election. I don't even think who don't even know who run it in their district.
But that's what I was gonna say. I think like what I mean, like, what does it look like? Does it another part? Are we talking about like just presidential elections? Because there's a lot of local things. Way more important. Yeah, there's a lot of local things. Like we could vote on constables. We could vote on like judges and stuff like that.
Or yeah, man, prosecutors.
But I think that no, I'm not. I see what you're saying, David. I'm kind of with you. I think that Black men need to be more politically active as well. You see what I'm saying? Like I don't. Just me personally, Agreed. I just don't see it. That when I do see them active, they're always Democrat. But I don't see any other group like them pushing any other group. And then when you that's what I was saying about the Republicans. I mean, I don't think they're. I vehemently don't think they're pro-Black men at all. I don't think Republicans are pro-Black males at all. And I'm not trying to.
I don't.
Let me speak to that.
I don't think they should.
They shouldn't have to be.
SKC, expound on that, please, because you haven't said much in a minute.
No, I'm just saying that's one of the major hiccups with. I would say particularly with Black men. They always play this game of, oh man, I don't think this side is pro-Black. Why should they?
Well, let's take the Black out. Let's take the Black out then. Let's use the male. They're not pro-male then. How about that?
But that's what I'm saying is it's like I'll just stay right there because that was the same thing that was stated with on Bernard's panel the other day with I think it was like Keep It 100 and a bunch of other people that push that idea, and it's like it's such a ridiculous position to take, because why would a group be pro you when you can't even have a productive family unit.
Okay, then
It's
what
like
about, like I said,
it would
let's
be like
remove
saying
black.
it
Let's
would be
remove
like
black. Let's say men
saying
then.
it
That
would
was a
be
little harsh. I felt
yeah
that one in my chest.
it would be like somebody trying to get a position on a basketball team, and it's like, okay, well, dude, what can you do? Well, I can shoot. Can you handle the ball? No. Can you play defense? No. Dude, what do you?
Okay, okay.
Well,
Well, like I
y'all
said,
y'all
okay.
just not pro
So let's
shooters.
move.
Like,
Okay, let's
man,
move on
get up
from.
out of here.
All right. Well, let's move for the black. They're not pro male. Does that suffice? Is that a better?
No,
Does that
Bill,
not
I think
irritate
that
you?
no, that's even a problem too, because
Oh, that's a problem.
for
Okay.
the majority of the dudes saying all that, pro black male stuff are coming from that position, they're not even pro men.
Look,
Facts.
can I ask Lou a question?
Because at the position when anything comes up, they're gonna fall back right into all of that racism stuff instead of just manning up and doing whatever they got to do.
Or
To
if
be
you
fair, the
bring up
black men.
intersectional dynamics, then you're an incel.
What a
Wait,
black
can I
man
ask
that
Lou a
make.
question? You don't think the
Hold on, real
Republicans
quick.
voted?
I got you, Connor. Real quick. The black men that don't vote. I mean, the black men that don't make money. The black men that are impregnated, they don't even vote anyway. So, I mean, the black men that are married.
Well, we're kind of
are
not
the
talking
most.
about non-voters, though, Lou.
No, but I'm saying
that's
no. But he's conflating.
That's not even
No,
true
but he's
anymore, though.
no. The
That's
black.
not even true anymore,
No, the
because what do
married
you
black
think?
men vote the most.
Okay, but all I was saying to you, Lou, is that position is no longer viable. Who do you think that get your booty to the poll was for? That wasn't made for married black men.
It wasn't made for the corporate office black man either. That was made for the hood. Like, come
It
on.
probably was. To be honest, but
I
okay.
take from it. It'd be made for all three. The city I live in, it'd be made for all three. But
you had a question for me, bro.
I get you. I'm not fighting you on that.
I want to ask, you don't think the Republican Party is like male dominated or male emphasized?
I think it's more male dominated.
When you look from the 80s, and you look at from conservative, Reagan came up, the no fault divorce, destroyed marriages, right?
Yep.
You look at Marco Rubio with his whole, child support can start at inception 9 months earlier.
Yep.
You look at like Republican states like Arkansas, shit like that just have just crazy ass child support laws against me. I mean, it's just if we're talking from a man platform, like I said, just remove black man. Okay, let's do that then. If you're talking about from a man perspective, I would say Republicans are probably the biggest simp blue pill party out of all of them.
You are right.
No, I think Republicans are blue pill. Listen, Republicans are fucking blue pill. Like their spirit is blue pill. That's why you keep getting not just like Marco Rubio, but there was another state like Utah or something like that where they had some kind of like prenatal child support program. So it's not just that, you lean to the right and everything's going to work out for you by voting Republican. I want to present something to you. And this is kind of the idea that I presented to Keep It 100 yesterday when he raised his disagreement. And people, he was sort of arguing for the middle, and he wasn't getting any real love from the audience for that position. But I get his point. He did have a sort of legit point. And it was basically, I think he sort of misplaced it, is how I addressed it. That the Republicans, like you guys said, they aren't quite the party of men. They have more men over there, but they're not necessarily of men. They still have like a blue pill streak to them. And what I kind of told him was that I think this is a unique moment in time politically. We're in kind of new territory. This whole idea of like this masculinity wave, that's a modern thing, right? We've never really needed a masculinity wave up until the modern era. So we're kind of riding the wave of that. And then there's this whole black men leaving the Democrat Party. That's revolutionary for like all of our lifetimes, everyone on this panel.
Yeah.
So we're in uncharted territory. And I think what the way forward for black voters, the black male voters specifically, is to sort of embrace the masculinity and the whole, as you leave the Democrat Party, stand on your masculinity. And that is something that you can use as sort of a center of gravity. So even if the Republican Party isn't necessarily a masculine party, even if they're kind of blue pill, This is what you can sell to them. This is how, like I was saying yesterday, this is how you win my vote. Talk to the manhood in me. I know the Democrats aren't going to talk to my manhood. So now, if we're having that position of being in between, the rock and the hard place, being stuck between, feminism and racism, like I said yesterday, listen, at least the racist is willing to speak to the manhood in you. And so that's what I say you take forward to the Republican Party. And you're kind of gonna have to be willing to brave new territory in that regard, right? I totally acknowledge it may not have been built before, but this is the best place to find fertile ground to lay these seeds.
Hoodservative, can I say something? When we
No?
talk about the Conservative Party or the Republican Party being the racist party, is it though? Because like if we look at the policies, we've broken down that the Conservative Party, the Republican Party, is not a man-centric party because there's more women voters than men, period. So that's the reason we have the child care setup system, the child support system, the court system is all set up pro-women. So the policies that they're doing are pro-women. The policies that the Democratic Party are doing are actually racist. The welfare system is actually racist by design. It is a setup for a destabilized household that statistically, we have the data, is not going to produce good outcomes, especially for black men. But
there are more white people on welfare than black people.
Hey, no, come on, we're not about to do that. Come on. Hey, David, I got an extension.
You know something though, Lou, that since that was brought
Hold the
up
question,
just quickly, again, it just shows you that's why I was saying to a certain degree, you got your back up against the wall because and I'm throwing this on black men. They're not complex enough. If you have to sit up and argue stuff about statistics and people don't understand basic statistics, it's like, come on, dude. Come on. You're done.
See,
Well, SKC, if you noticed, I haven't been making complex mathematical arguments. I've been sort of in this vein since like the oppressed women stream. I've been making a really simple based argument. Now for 2 days now, I've been making a simple based argument. And so I totally understand what you're doing, and I'm starting from there again. That is kind of an issue. We do not have a sophisticated black male politic.
But that's so I kind of I do agree with SKC. I'm saying so how are you going to beat that if you don't even have one in place? That's like trying to get a boxer off the street to fight.
No. Listen. You beat coming next, but you beat high tech with low tech. That's why I'm giving you a really base. I'm speaking directly to the manhood in you.
It don't work like that.
Good.
So
numbers.
Here's how it works.
Numbers. You don't have black men voting consecutive. That's the problem.
Hold on, pass the mic for a second. Pass the mic. Friedman, please jump in.
Yeah, here's how it works. The transition for men gaining more political power is already happening, right? It's not like, it's almost like this idea that if it doesn't happen on CNN or Fox News, it doesn't exist, right? Like some Jesse Jackson like figure needs to be pounding a podium about black men's rights. It doesn't happen like that. Right. What does happen is men are already getting out of the institutions that are leveraged against them. They're not going to college like that. Latino men are going to Republicans. Black men are.
Yeah, I see some of these articles you've been putting up here.
That's what I was about to tell you real quick, David. Hey, after this, I got a way. I got. Are you using Google Chrome?
Yeah, I'm using Brave. I know. I was trying to do that, Lou. Yeah, hook.
You know the extension I was talking about? Yeah. Because I got it. Put the link in the back right now, and I'll pull it up.
Okay.
And I'll share the screen.
I'm lost, guys. What are you guys talking about?
I have an extension to get past the paywall. I got an extension to get past all these paywalls.
So.
Oh, okay, yeah. Now I use the Brave browser too. You don't always get past the paywall, yeah.
So, but my point is, there's a question like, well, how are we going to do it? How's it going to happen? It's already happening, dude. You don't have to ask anymore. Men are already getting out of female-centric power structures, i.e., the Democrat Party, college, right? It's already happening, right? It's not gonna sneak up on you one day and be, all over Fox News or something. And I guarantee you, the most accurate polling is internal polling for politicians. And trust me, they see it happening. They see the
They
numbers
know.
and they will do something about it because they know.
So
right?
can I ask you a question? Where are these black men going if they leave in politics at college? Where they going politically?
Listen, even if they sit out, it's a win for
I'm
the
not
right.
Libertarian
That's what the
or
left is kind
Republican.
of afraid of.
Well, the
I
point
don't know if
about
it's a win
the
for
men
the
leaving
right though.
college is that they're leaving female dominated power structures.
Yeah.
Right. They're not just it goes beyond simply voting. Right. It's on two fronts. Right. Because that weakens their power structure. With no men, it's just a bunch of girls looking around for attention. If there's no men to give it to them, that hurts them
But
culturally.
that's the key. It's always gonna be man that's gonna look, or even if you're not that man, I'm saying it's always gonna be some simp around, as people would say it nowadays.
And
It's
this,
always gonna be
you're right.
somebody around because men love women. I mean, not that that's a bad thing. I'm just
What
saying
do
it's
you
always
mean?
that's the loophole.
Hold
You're
on. Are
right.
you
That
actually
it's
It's
not going
gonna
to be
believing
the
always
men that
give
they
it.
or are you
want.
just saying something?
that's why I push,
Well,
coding boot camps and online colleges as well. And I know the trades too, but I'm just saying, like, the whole, you're right, the entire state university system is the Title Nines and all this stuff. Like, I don't necessarily think that you shouldn't get a bachelor's degree if you can, you know what I mean? But I'm with you on the whole, like, university, how they just demonize men and stuff like that. That's why I kind of push, like, either the trades or online school or boot camps and stuff like that. And that's kind of like the wave, because a lot of people are in school way too long. But I'm not trying to divert from the topic. I was just addressing this right here about the
Yeah.
men.
Well, I mean, I think conscious kind of. There's something I want to say to address that whole thing with conscious. I think instead of being worried about the past or whatever, or being stuck in the past, you kind of have to plan for the future. And I think in order to sort of address the moment that we are in, what men kind of need to do, like I said, is embrace the conflict or whatever. But for black men in particular, and moving to the right slowly, you will drag some women along, even if it's kicking and screaming, as you gain victories on the right, doing the things that need to be done. You will, just by winning, just by the fact that you won, you will begin to drag women onto your side, and so it'll change the landscape on its own. I mean, nothing succeeds like success, bro.
Yeah. And I wanted to say, but the trades is not a total escape from the left. I mean, we saw those unions heavily supported Democrat, like the electrician unions, the plumber unions, the pipe fitters
Oh,
union.
yeah.
They
I get
do
that.
support Democrat policies, and so it's not like if you go into the trades, you just 100%, right and leaning. A lot of people in trades are what you would say Democrat or leftist or whatever.
Right.
So it's not.
I get that, Lou. That has the dynamic there is Biden came in and just killed the Keystone Pipeline. People see that, right? People notice. People notice in trades they were doing great under Trump. The economy was going bananas, right? They noticed the difference, and that a lot of gosh, I should pull up that. Let me look for that article. There's like a trade union, I think it was in Nevada, that refused to endorse the Democrats. But to your point, yes, that is true, and this has, I mean, within the last, let's say 4 or 5 years, there it's been real tepid. I got to find the articles, but that has changed. It's not, and I don't think it's an escape from the left, but it's more or less a way out of that culture, right? A man that goes to be an electrician, right, out of high school is going to be a different man than if he went to college for 4 years and gets a communications degree, right? $60,000 in debt to be unskilled labor. That's a different dude altogether politically.
Yeah.
Because I could see. I mean, I could definitely see a lot of these blue cities promote, because we see, when you see construction, like when we talked about it, like you said, Spanish is the language of labor. You see a lot of these construction sites have a lot
Yeah,
of
you said that
Hispanics. So I don't think they would push against that. You know what I mean? Like less
Hey
immigration.
Lou, let me ask you something. What do you got here on the screen? I see you got your share screen up. What is this we're going to be looking at?
This the article. Yeah, see, I got that thing I was telling you about. You see, I'm not signed in, but it's not the paywall. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, you got past the paywall thing.
Yeah, I got an
Okay.
extension.
Yeah, got that too, Lou.
You got it? Yeah, from I am. It's a
Yeah.
dude named I am dead off GitHub. Yeah, you just install it, and then you can just and this is cool, man. This guy's making This guy's making beats or making sounds. He's probably doing recordings. I mean, this is all. This is awesome. Somebody got a landscaping job here. I mean, this is. I support this. I support this vehemently. But I'm just saying though, I don't know, man. I'm just looking at it from a perspective because, like, that infrastructure bill, you don't think that will help tradesmen? That infrastructure
Well,
bill is
yeah, most
coming.
likely the infrastructure is just sort of is a straight shot. Like if you're spending money directly on infrastructure, then yeah, that generally helps tradesmen. So I'm not against anything like that.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think it would,
Are
but
we
I think
talking about Biden's
overall,
infrastructure bill or the just an
Yeah,
infrastructure?
that's kind of
That
why
one they passed
I
in 20.
semi-hedged my framing of the statement, like, because I know the way bills are written, people kind of steal a lot of money in government. So,
Yep.
like, there's an infrastructure bill, and then there's the actual infrastructure spending.
Right.
right. That I mean, overall, I take infrastructure this way. It has to be spent anyway because a lot of the stuff in America was built right after World War II, and a lot of stuff that was built right after World War One is still in use. Like a lot of the power grid was built in the 20s and 30s. That has to be replaced, no matter what they pass. Right? Civilization is going to start grinding to a halt if you don't replace it. So, I mean, America as a society will find the money, whether it's
And
at
see,
the state level
that's
or
something else.
federal.
There's something else I kind of wanted to mention too here, and this is like kind of harken back to yesterday's conversation. And SKC, you might remember this a little bit because 100 he brought up this idea of like what has the Republican Party offered me or whatever. And I think, and that's not an invalid question, right? You know, they do have to sort of make a play for you as politicians, but on the other side of it, I think black men in particular are in a unique moment to sort of spearhead certain things or at least to reframe the conversation. And I think when it comes to say things like the infrastructure bill, these infrastructure things would actually do a lot of service for like the black male individual voter, even men who don't vote, like just for the individual regular guy. If you can start getting more infrastructure bills coming to your urban district, that's now it's up to you to get the job and get the money yourself, but still that will bring things your way. So when we were talking about like black politics before, I think what needs to happen for like the black male voter maybe is to focus less on the black side of things and come at the right with a set of demands that one help black men broadly, but two are actually what the country needs anyway, right? That will reset things, that will reframe things, that kind of reframes your image, that reframes how other people see you, and then it solidifies your position because now you are about something. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Now,
Yeah.
can I ask you a quick question? How can you speak to black men politically? Like what?
Whoa,
Like what?
Citizen Lou, that's kind of what I've been after these last 2 days. Go ahead, Eskasi.
Go ahead. What's it?
I think for the most part, Lou, and I know I'm being the Debbie Downer here, but like overall, I don't think that you can. I think that there's
You might be right. You might be right though. To be
I think that
honest.
there's a minority percentage, but that percentage caps out at certain points. I think probably at the max that you could probably go
20.
is if you did it really, really well and put some money behind it. I would say I would even say probably like 30%. But
I think
outside of that,
SKC, real quick. I think 30%, a 30% loss of the black male vote is enough to put the Democrats in play on most levels.
Yeah,
Even if it's just
I think it
30% of the
is.
black male vote. So that's what I'm good with. But please continue.
Yeah, and I think it's possible, but you would really need to put a lot of dough behind it. The other side of it is that, um, as I was putting in the chat earlier, there's big reasons why you have people like Abrams going to Morehouse instead of Spelman. It's like, and then
Oh,
on top of it,
she went to Morehouse.
and yeah, she all of her speeches and stuff are at Morehouse. She doesn't
I'm
go
sorry. I
to
thought you meant
those
she went to
free.
She's
school there.
campaigning. No, she can't go to
Okay.
Morehouse, but she's campaigning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, and it's like she can say some of the craziest stuff, and nobody is going to stand up and say anything. And that's what I mean. So far as if you're even in a a place like that where supposed higher level thinking is supposed to take place, and people will just eat up crazy things like, I don't know, when you go to the hospital at 6 weeks, the doctors are giving you a false sound that's not a real sonogram. It's like, come on, man. Emory is down the road from Morehouse. It's one of the largest medical universities in Georgia, and yet a lady can come on your campus and tell you some crap like that, and nobody will stand up and say, "Nah, that's crazy."
Well, they won't. Sorry, of course they're not going to SKC because it's cultural, not logical, right? She goes to Morehouse because the culture there will not question what she says, right?
And
They
that
have
and
the
that's what I'm saying is, it's like if it's to a point to where the people that are supposed to be the most intellectually savvy will not challenge things that are obviously false, what do? It's like you're done. You're filleted.
Well, yeah. I don't disagree. I don't
Hmm.
disagree. But what I'm saying is um, like I agree with everything you said. In um, also, I don't think it matters much that you can't appeal to the whole because the people, the black men that are voting Republican, are not of that culture. You know, I think that I I think that statistics will show, or polling will show, that these are like second generation suburban dudes, a lot of them, or conservative dudes that just happen to be in the city, and maybe tradesmen or things like that, where real world consequences of the politics override any type of cultural programming. So when you say, I think that when you say like appealing to black men, I think a political ad that basically just shows black men working, right? Black men in positive male roles, right? As part of the conversation is going to do more to appeal to that particular group of men, right? And increase turnout in that group rather than, trying to change blue pill dudes that, are like culturally Democrats good guys, Republicans bad guys.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and I get you, and I understand that. I think that game will eventually work, but it, I'm almost. It's crazy as this sounds. I'm almost of the thought of you guys are putting me like in a position of Trey at the moment. That sounds crazy. Yeah,
You
and I'm
about to do
serious
some nigga
because
shit? Please,
Oh
please do
no, no,
some
no,
nigga
no.
no,
shit on
no,
Oh
my
no, no,
panel.
no.
not that. But I'm saying this. Okay, I'm just looking at it from the opposite side. If you have guys that you can put them in intellectual or the ivory tower, as it were, and they would just eat up stuff that is just obviously false. You have to get that. Okay, that group is a threat, and they need to be dealt with.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So then
Those
you
guys
have to
are.
start putting systematic things in place in order to continue to drive these people apart. So I'm like, at this point, I would think that the whole thing of the gender war and all this, keep that up, destroy this group, because um nothing, you cannot reason with them at all.
No, I agree.
Colin,
Yeah.
I agree.
Colin,
Those guys who want to
Well,
support the
I kind of
plans.
spoke to that earlier when I said the establishment's got to defend itself.
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
with you.
No, I'm sorry.
Mm,
Go ahead, Friedman. You were saying something.
No, let's just say those. Are you talking about the black men who want to empower black women as far as voting rights go, or like political power
No,
goes?
I'm what I'm saying is them, the guys that are just going after the. I mean, you just throw any type of hypersexuality at them, and they just, we going. Those type of guys that just drones. Um, people that don't question anything. It's just they see the world only through the lens of black. You can't reason with any of them at all.
No, I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I agree with you, but I don't think.
So then you have to devise some type of strategy in order to nullify that entire
Well,
group.
I don't.
You
I
have
don't.
to.
Well, I don't
SKC,
think
you
they're
don't.
not.
One second. Let me throw this out there, then somebody else take the mic real quick. SKC, I think in your style of performance, when you do your thing on your channel, you kind of bridge that gap in a different way, but in the same spirit as I do. You can't meet them with logic, so you meet them with mockery and a little bit of scorn. And to the people who are logical, they will be drawn to your audience, but for most people, like the casual viewer, everyone likes a good laugh, and so you kind of have to. What we're engaging in is a cultural battle, and so the battle has to be fought on the terms as you present it. We're not necessarily fighting things in a logical way, so we kind of have to be a little bit more sophisticated in how we approach the illogical. And humor works. Like I said, you don't fight high tech with high tech; you fight it with low tech. All right, since you are used to laughing at things, you now become the thing people laugh at. Now, I think Ray Reckless was trying
Yeah.
to say something.
I think that they can be reasoned with. I think that there's definitely a shift happening because some of the panels that I'm brought up on now are very left-leaning panels where I don't agree with them. And they're like, hey, the way that it's presented, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to talk to everybody that is receiving what you're saying, but like those hosts do get it. And they're going, how do we change this narrative? And how do we shift the culture and how do we connect with these people? And I'm like, well, in all honesty, if somebody doesn't want to listen to me, I'm not going to make them, especially if they need the game that I have. That's not my problem at that point. Like, if you can't receive it from me, cool, go get it from who you can. But I'm not wasting my time with you. But if I can pour into the person who's pouring into you and you get it that way, then okay, that works too. But a lot of people are in such a bad situation that you can't not see this at this point. Like it's almost to the point to where now it's like, if you're not getting something, especially under the current administration, because the people who are getting the benefits of this are blatantly identified. They're blatantly protected. They're blatantly getting their policies passed.
That's
People
kind of what I was
are
saying
now
yesterday
noticing that they're
about
getting left out.
That's what I was saying about 100 yesterday. It's like the middle ground is shrinking. And I think we are getting to a point where it may, in fact, be a little bit easier to speak to the people, to reach the unreachable, perhaps.
Yeah.
But the middle ground, people are polarizing. And so I think the efforts on any one side will have some kind of effect. And frankly, no, it's not even on any one side. I think the efforts on the right are kind of hitting a lot harder than they've ever hit before, especially when we talk about the black side of things.
Yep. Well, I mean, when you're blatantly watching people who utilized your votes to get things that they wanted that didn't benefit you, at a certain point you got to sit down and go, okay, what's really happening here? Like,
you would think so, but that can be disproven easily. BLM.
Yeah, but BLM was run by women. It benefited women, and like, I mean, even in the aftermath of that, who benefited? The letter mafia and women.
Yeah, make the argument a little bit, SKC.
And that's what I'm saying is even with that out in the open and people tearing that apart and breaking it down and showing how you lost.
Yeah.
So far as quote unquote black man, dudes are still going.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you, but I mean, if you look at us communally, we come from matriarchal families, most of us. I did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean,
well, I gotta push back. Okay, so Hispanics, would you say they come from matriarchy families?
No.
No,
what about,
Hispanics they have women with influence. There are strong women in the Hispanic patriarchy, but that's kind of what I was saying before. Like the patriarchy makes room for women.
That's what I was gonna get at though. Like they vote overwhelmingly Democrat.
Because that's who lets them into the country. more or less.
Well, but they're
like,
They have different allegiance, right? They have
Real
different
quick,
priorities
No,
there.
that's not. No, what do you
real
mean?
quick, Lou.
Red states have a lot of immigrants in there working a
Okay,
lot of.
Lou.
You're
What do you
right,
mean?
but when you're looking at the narrative, who's championing for them to come here? They're going, hey, we need to get there. But the other thing that you're not looking at is culturally, they're not here bought into being here. They're here to extract resources. They just need to get here to work. They're sending money back home. They're not all coming.
Right. They're not necessarily invested in the future of the country the
Right.
way like Black America is. Win, lose, or draw, Black America is invested in the future of this country. There is no second home for us.
Right.
Yeah, and here to that,
There's a
Lou,
lot of
their vote is far more dynamic than the black vote, right?
Right.
They're at, and sometimes they're 70-30.
70% Democrat.
Even Biden said the Hispanics are way more diverse than the Blacks. It's
Well, I
well
mean, that's
known.
true. Well, that's
They-
true
they
because it's
know
like
it's true.
because the way Hispanic and like how they do Hispanic and Asian, it's like 12 groups inside that code.
Right.
You got all type of different Asians, you got all type of different Hispanics. Whereas Black is just you know who you're talking about, right? I mean, it's Black.
Yeah.
For the
And
most part.
to that point also, Lou, Latinos along the southern border in Texas are going Republican. You know what I'm saying? There's a phenomenon in which the second and third generation of immigrants turn against the home country.
Yep.
Basically. And you basically see that unfolding right now, right? Second and third generationers are going Republican and saying, hey, this is crazy. Like, we don't want all these people here. We left that country for a reason.
Right.
If you're bringing the worst elements of that country here, stop doing it.
So
Right?
you saying the people who
that dynamic change
benefited from
happening
the
right now.
policy wants to end it now?
Well, it's once if you're legally here and you have a buy-in to here, you do not want an open border, regardless of where you came from, because you're
No,
here now.
he said that they came over here just
Bro,
like
America's
right.
built on immigration. America's not. I mean, I don't care if you're blue or red. They all want more immigrants in here. It's like
I don't think any country is built on a flood of immigrants, though. We're
no.
kind of talking about two different things.
Yes.
you said. Well, I mean, this is the only country people want to go to. I mean,
That's not
why.
the point, though. That's not the point. Just because all these people want to come here doesn't make it good for here.
No,
the
it
only
does
reason-
when you look at from
Economically, it does.
from the
It's easier
1800s. Immigration has been in America has been higher than any other nation.
It's easier to get here, and we are more lenient with letting people stay because we have systems that benefit from that influx of illegal immigrants.
Right.
That's the
Like
only
I-
reason. Outside of
Yeah,
that,
there are definite economic interests, but those aren't necessarily interests of the American voter. And I think that's kind of the
Right.
problem. That's the crux of the issue here. The voters aren't necessarily happy to have all the immigration, but it's a part of the platform of their party sometimes because business interests want immigration for their own special reasons.
also the talking points of it, you feel good talking about, oh, we should have immigration. Like when you talk to like the bare grit of how societies work, it doesn't make you feel good. Like the reason we get to be on these computers is because like people have to work in factories where you can't jump off the building in China. Like it doesn't make you feel good, but it's how stuff works currently. That's just reality. So when you talk about immigration, it feels good to go, yeah, we should let people here because we have it good and like they should have it good and everybody should be happy. But like the reality of it is we are not that far removed from animals, and there are winners and there are losers.
And right. You see, this kind of base reality is part of like why I asked the question, what has black politics done for black men? Because another thing I criticize is that when we make black your only prism of looking at things, especially politics, you don't see the baseline reality like you described. Like a lot of the American leisure, a lot of our largesse is because, the rest of the world is somehow semi-enslaved in one way or another.
Right.
But we're not going to talk about it in those terms because, we rather talk about racism and shit.
Right. Well, the thing that I say is like when you put that label on it, even how many people who go around going, oh, well, I'm woke warrior, blackety black, whatever, have left the country. Have you ever actually experienced being an American? It's freaking awesome. All right. Like that's another issue. I'm like, if you go other places, there aren't just black people. Like there's four places where there's black people, and it's also the 4 places where racism was bred. Like it's a delineation to demarcate different classes. And it doesn't exist. Like if you leave here and go to Europe, you don't even get to be black there. You're an American.
Yeah,
But
jump in,
that's that.
SK.
But that's one of the major issues in general is that the culture
Yep.
is more xenophobic than I would say any other culture in America.
Facts.
You
I
mean
mean,
black
it's
culture?
so
You mean black culture?
yes,
Yep.
yes, by far,
But
by far.
but if they're voting Democrat and they're getting, I don't
Yeah,
know. It
but
seems like I don't see how you
Uh,
can vote Democrat and be xenophobic.
Well,
it doesn't have to
That's a
be
this is the
contradiction,
based.
but
reason.
it exists though.
Basically,
The reason why I say that is because um, they're doing it, but they don't know what they're doing. All they know is that they want this separate group, and they expect people to continue to give to them
mhm.
without I would say properly integrating into a lot of other things that makes up the entire whole.
Do you think that it's
They're,
just
they're
a?
I
the
don't know, man.
Oh,
It's just
go ahead.
I'm kind of confused. Oh, what you gonna say?
I was going to ask him,
well,
does he think that it's that they expect it to be given to them, or is it a sense of entitlement because it's something that they never personally experienced themselves that they heard stories about?
I would say both.
Okay.
I would say both. It's the only issue that the majority of quote unquote Black America um, said has I would say some semblance of savvy about, and it's not
Mhm.
true savvy, but I'm just saying that is
right.
the thing that they talk about the most
I think
is racism, slavery, all that
Yep.
type of stuff. But when you go into other subject matters, there's this complete lack of knowledge, and
Yep.
then all of the myths and stories. Other groups get this, other people come here and they just automatically get $100,000. Like, come on, bruh, it's just so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
insanity.
I don't agree with that. But I mean, but what is it to be said if you look at Asians, they majority, majority they vote Democrat. You look at Hispanics, they majority vote Democrat. So it's like I don't see how it's like. So I don't get. So they're not
Do
a
Asians
monolith. I don't.
actually majority vote
Hey,
Democrat?
Yeah,
Lou, I put
61%.
a I
Yes,
put a
Oh, I
different
mean, I guess
fact check
now
to
after
address
Trump
that.
got in office, but like
60,
before that.
61. Yeah. 61 to 63% of
Oh,
of
okay.
voting Asians vote Democrat.
Okay, but
75% of Latinos vote Democrat, and Black people's like 92 or something like that.
their vote has been proven to be dynamic and it shifts from election to election. Black
But
people's doesn't.
But now when you
but
say dynamic, I mean most Latinos don't live in Texas. I mean there's Latinos
Bro,
throughout
go
America,
click the
so you
link.
can't
Click the
use
link I put
Texas
in
as
the
like
chat.
the parameter for yeah that means Latinos are voting different. I mean
there
Latinos are
Well,
all across America.
Well,
the
let me
I
give
issue
you
get
let
with
that,
me give you
but
the
this,
the
Lou.
whole when I say dynamically, what I mean is in one election the split could be 65-35. In another election it can be 70-30. In another election it could be 72-28. That's
there
what I mean by dynamic. They're actually trying to fight for that vote.
they're also more likely to vote. They're more likely to split tickets because they actually vote for the best candidate, not just go in and go Republican, Democrat down the line. That's another thing that's getting left out because when societally America was working at its best, they had more people who were split voters than anything. And that's when things work. The more polarized it's gotten, the worse things have gotten.
Well, I'll add in this too, Lou, because I know people throw certain things in. Um, and this may sound harsh. It is what it is, though. But when people throw up the whole Asian thing and so forth, and if you want to say politically all of it, well, their vote counts more because they're more productive.
You said Asians are more productive.
Yeah, that's how you know how black people will jump in and they'll say, "Oh, well, how did that get passed so quick overnight?" And so, because they're more
I,
productive.
I think
No, well,
that's the
no,
unspoken.
well,
One,
You
one
no.
mean they
second,
pay
We ain't
more
talking
tax?
about
Lou,
that.
Lou, hold on
Hold
one
on.
second. Let me throw this out there real quick. I think that is the unspoken secret that Black people don't really know about politics. The most productive group wins, right?
What do you mean they
So,
pay more taxes productive?
well, in a lot of ways, not just taxes, but just economically productive, I think is the broader thing. And then when it comes to like politics, your economic productivity has a direct impact on your political productivity, right? So if Black America is the least economically productive segment, it does kind of make sense that other groups will get their political goals across a lot quicker.
Well,
And so
what
that's
I'm
kind of
saying though,
it's the
the
secret
only,
sauce though. We got to
when I
accept
say
that.
but the only
and when
thing
I
they
say
got, the
productive,
only thing they
I'm
got
adding
fast.
in the negatives and the
But
positives.
Asians don't even
Think
really
about
do that for
think about
politics
how
like that.
think about how much even when you think about the various cities and states, but just the country in general, think about how much Black America costs America.
That's exactly what I'm thinking when I jumped
So
in with that. Like, and I've made this point before. Black America could not support Black America. Like, Conscious, you kind of try to sneak in this argument, and thank you, Lou, for shutting it down. Like, we weren't going there because, listen, the welfare game makes it plain. White America pays for poor whites and poor blacks just alike. Black America does not pay that cost at all. Black America does not
I
pay
didn't
for
say that.
poor
I just said it
blacks.
was more white
but you
people
know,
on
but you know,
welfare
But
than
but
black
my
people.
my
So
hold
I
on,
my
mean,
point
people
still
pull that up
we're
like,
not doing that, Contra. We got to.
yeah, my
no,
point
I'm just
still holds.
why even bring it up? Period, though.
No,
Like
because
the
I was
welfare
making the
game ain't
bigger
even a
point.
welfare game like
Hold
it
on.
used to
because the
be. Either.
percentage wise is
My
different.
mother
But
retired as a
I
social worker.
brought it up. I brought it up
Like
to make a grander point.
that has
Conscious, hold on,
changed
hold on,
too.
hold on, hold
So
on.
you
Conscious,
can't be a
conscious,
welfare
conscious,
queen no more.
conscious. Hold on. Let me ask you this. Why would Black America gain any kind of credibility in the argument that there are individually more white people on welfare when the fact is that white people pay for Black people to be on welfare?
How is that
Well,
so?
there's
What
more
you
white
mean?
people because
Everybody
there's more white
pays for
people.
people to be on
No,
welfare.
Fifty% of the
but
of the
white
What you
people
populace.
are the
mean, though?
majority of
Yes.
everybody. White people are the majority of everybody and have been
So
for
why?
quite a
So
while.
why
So
would
when
they
you're
pay
talking
for the
about,
majority
but
of
that's
white
the
people?
reason why I
So
brought
why
up
wouldn't
that
they pay if
argument.
they're the majority of people? Why wouldn't they pay for the majority of white people on welfare?
They do that because of
Okay, so that's
the
what I'm
law.
just saying. Even
So
bringing
why
up
do
the
Black
welfare
people get some
argument
kind
is
of
null
moral
and void.
credibility
That's why
when
that's
another
why
group of
I added
people
my
are
little
responsible
finger in
for
there.
us? How is it that we get moral credibility when basically another group of people are becoming financially responsible
You
for
act like
us,
black
or
people
at
don't
least the
pay
poorest of
taxes
us?
for welfare as well. So
But
we'll
Black
have to pay.
America's taxes doesn't pay for the national Black welfare tax bill. That's my point.
How much is that bill per
It's
year?
more than we
How
pay.
much is? Can you give me a fee? I mean,
You know what?
how
Now
much
you're
it
gonna make me
costs?
do
Like,
homework.
come on,
I'm
man.
gonna make a whole
Taxes
show
are
about it now
taxes. We
just to
all
piss
pay
you off.
taxes, and we all
Now
pay
I'm
for
gonna
the
do the
welfare
show
system.
just to piss
We
you
all,
off.
as
Okay.
long as you work, you paying for it. So
all
that
right, come
don't
on.
matter. If
Come
you're
on.
a
We getting off the
Black
taxpayer,
point,
you're
America
man.
paying
is
for
I
it.
what,
want to get. I
12%
want to stay on
versus
SK2
60?
point.
Oh,
We just going
Go
to
ahead,
discuss.
go ahead, Citizen Lou. Like the 12% can tell the 60 something about how much money they spent. Like, stop it. Come on,
And I feel
come on,
that, but
Citizen
and
Lou.
you know who received the most COVID aid out of all groups?
No.
I don't know.
Asians. Asians received the most
To
COVID
answer
relief out of anybody.
to answer that question, tell you what, share my
So do
screen.
they?
The
So do
Asian.
they
I'll
make
answer your
up?
Asian
How, they
question
can't
right now.
support the entire country. They're a small group, so that point is kind of moot. If
I'll
they're
tell
getting
you
the most.
exactly why
I got you,
Asians are
Friedman.
getting
1 second. I got you.
energy.
1
Go
second.
ahead, Freddie. Go ahead. No, but did you hear that? Yeah, go ahead. What you saying?
Yeah, I just gotta share my screen real quick.
Okay, I'll stop. All right, go ahead. But I was gonna say though, man, I just like the only bill that they got that was like the whole was it COVID hate act or whatever thing. I mean, they were getting beat up. Like people were blaming them for COVID. I mean, that's kind of.
Did
I mean, it
you
was
read
going
that
on. They
though?
were getting fucked up. So I mean, I don't.
Did you read that bill? Because I
This right
read it
here.
and it's
It says,
basically just paperwork. This isn't it, but that bill that they passed, the Asian
yeah, exactly.
hate
That
bill.
bill, yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's fangless. It don't really have
Any
any
kind
like.
of hate bill is just going to be a lot of word babble.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
So
Yeah, it's just gonna be just some. Yeah.
pay close attention to the segment on the right. Annual household income $200,000+. 18% of Asians are in that category.
Yeah, that's because majority of them live in California, and the most of them live on the West Coast.
That is why they're getting a lot of attention. And two, they're challenging
doesn't.
the power. They're challenging. Okay, let me finish, Lou. They're challenging the power structure that is keeping them out of higher ed. How they are required to get higher test scores to get the same entrance levels as other groups, right? So two things: they're outperforming, and now they are starting to sue, right, to prevent the hindering that's being done. I mean, they're doing it out in the open. Harvard is arguing out in the open that we have to limit Asians because they'll take spots from blacks, right? As if the white spots are guaranteed. You understand what I'm saying?
You don't even have a white guaranteed spot, honestly.
And that's another thing too. Like
So
Black America has been so trained to focus on Black-white relations, but our true like physical competition and economic competition, or even educational institution competition, are Asians and Latinos. But we're not supposed to have that
I
conversation
thought
because we're all under this rainbow umbrella trying to destroy the white man.
Right.
that's what I'm
No,
saying.
you're
But I
not. You're
thought
not
college,
wrong.
but I
But
thought
it's
colleges were the institution of the left. So they're trying to fight to get into these institutions, and they're living in leftist
because
areas. So
Well, I mean, that's a different
they are
argument.
voting.
People
No,
still
I'm
see
saying so
college
y'all.
as the
It's
thing.
like no, I'm saying it's like if the Asians like I don't get it. They're voting majority eight. I mean, when they do vote, it's left, it's blue.
they
They're like you just rolled up. They're trying to fight to get into leftist institution.
because they also don't have a vested interest in here. If you're coming here to extract a resource, you don't care about long term what happens here, as long as you get the resource and leave.
hold on, Lou. Do you understand that the Democrats, so politically speaking, they want all minority groups to vote like black people. 70% of the Hispanic vote isn't enough. 60% of the Asian vote isn't enough. You understand? The goal is to get their long-term goal was to get all minorities voting like black people, and then have minorities have all the babies. That was the plan.
And the other, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so if that isn't happening, if they're stuck at 65% of Latinos or 60% of Asians, what have you, that's a problem for them long term, because over the past 5 years, they've been decidedly anti-male and especially anti-white male. Right? And that's the biggest voting bloc. So that puts a kink in their plan. So it's not that, they're already voting Democrat. No. That doesn't matter. Right? The long-term plan is 90% need to, so they can exert their political power. The Democrats can. And I gotta go, guys. Hey, thanks, Hoodservative, for the panel. Appreciate it.
Well, in addition to what Freeman was saying, to kind of counter what you're saying, Lou, look what happened in San Francisco when it came to the school system.
You mean the college system, or are you talking about the public?
The public school system. It was the Asians that came up against Team Blue and got all of those people off the school board because they wanted to dumb down.
Well, you can be on the same party and not fuck with the other people in the party. You can still vote blue and not like people who vote blue and who you think are.
But what I'm saying
they were
is
actually
that,
dumb. Oh, go ahead. We said.
But what I'm saying is that that's becoming a large portion of contention, because those groups are beginning to realize that, whoa, your overall message is to dumb everything down and to make this quote unquote equity policy, even when it comes to education, which runs diametrically opposed to their entire setup of family and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you have,
like I said,
I don't know if you've ever
blue,
been to like if you ever looked inside of like the Asian world of things, from the time that kids are 2-3 years old, education is pushed like like crazy, man.
I know, and then they go to American leftist institutions. So I don't see how.
Well, I mean, hold on. You're raising a different kind of argument, Lou, and I think as right as you are, it's not the point right now, because I want to reframe the conversation just a little bit, because now that you mentioned education and the family unit, or comparisons of the family units or whatever, SKC, I think we can kind of bring it back to another argument. And then Conscious Moron, I think this is another reason why. Are you even still up here, Conscious? I think this is another reason why I frame the argument the way I do. You know, is it time why the black man should openly vote against the black woman? Are you gonna, if we can go to court to fight for our children, I mean, why can't we go to the ballot booth to fight for our families in the long run? When you talk about the educational system, when you talk about the family structure, the makeup, what the family constitutes, how they are with the children or whatever, what they dedicate their energy and their time to. That's women aren't focused on competition and raising competitive children the way men are. And even to the extent that the Asian women are, tiger moms or whatever, they're in a culture that was imposed by men long ago, way before them.
Right. Well, I mean, in regards to Asian culture and the way that works, like I have a lot of experience with Vietnamese culture, and it's a semi-matriarchal culture. Like the men obviously carry out and do the men things, the women provide insight and guidance. So the reason you have that tiger mom dynamic is because, like, if the man's going out hunting and killing, then it's literally the woman's job to handle everything sans inside the door.
And that's a big job if you think of like the things that could go wrong from time to time. So like, and this is why I don't really argue with guys who raise the argument of the competent woman in this or that scenario, because I don't want to war with them. I'm not at war with competent women. I just don't like the notion of broad female leadership.
Well, no, you're 100% right. The issue is, it's like the women don't want these jobs, and that's at the end of the day, we're in a battle of attrition, and we're men. We're gonna win. Like, it's just what it is, because they don't want to do those things. Like, if you look at the counterpart of all these boss women that are stepping up in place of us, apparently, they're now just starting to die way sooner than we do because they're not built for that. They're not built for. You can do something like I could put a Ferrari engine probably in a Ford Fusion. The car is going to fall apart eventually.
Right.
It's just not what it's made for. So,
yeah, but what if the Ford Fusion that you fell in love with just really wants to be a Ferrari? Now, do you have to wrestle the power away from the Ford Fusion so you can save the Ford Fusion? No. Is that what we're doing here?
No, you just let it run itself out. You let it run it. Out, dude.
Well, you can do that. Yeah, you can do that.
Speed. You run that thing at full speed every single time until the wheels fall off.
Well, I mean, the issue is, though, like, if you look at the policy, like, they're trying to force men to take maternity leave now. Like, they're trying to just, like, bring the standard down so that they go, oh, well, these dudes just don't get tired and, like, don't let up. Like, let's reel it in so that we can compete. And if you're doing that, then you're not the best person or the most capable for the job. Because you can't compete on a level playing field. If I have to dumb myself down to compete so that you can compete with me, you can't compete with me.
I never really had a great argument for why I was like against male maternity leave. Like the extended versions of maternity leave, I think it's easy to argue against that. But just the idea of maternity leave in general, I don't quite like it, but I was never really able to frame a cogent argument against it. But I will say this, I don't like my job treating me like a woman.
Right.
You get paid time off. What's the problem?
Well, I mean,
I don't like my job treating me like a woman. What the hell did you not hear?
How does it treat you like a woman?
They're not
because
you're there for your child more than anything, right?
They're
and your woman is raising your child, so you're there for
that's what she's there for, dude. That's literally why she's there, to take time off to raise the child.
A year? It's a couple weeks off, man. And then you getting paid. Like, what's the problem? Oh my god, man, that's literally
make your point. Make your point.
Molehill, man. That's a nothing burger.
No, listen, I didn't bring it up as a main point,
with your kid and your girl, huh? That's a problem.
You know why? Because like I said, I haven't had a great logical, cogent argument for it, but I will say that I don't like the idea of my job treating me like a woman. And it's not that I don't like my children. It's not that I don't want to be with my children, but listen, that is why she's there, bro. So she can raise the children in that critical moment, and I can provide the ability for her to be alone with the children at that critical moment.
Oh, see, that's the key. You said alone.
Right, because I'm at work. Because I am literally physically at work. So like there's something weird, but there's something weird about it by making me.
How long
but there's something weird about it by making me or putting me at home.
Security right there, bro.
Like I said, it's an emotional thing. It's totally a psychological thing. It's not necessarily that I have a. It's not that I have a logical argument. I totally give you the logical of it, but like I said, I don't like them treating me like a chick. But go ahead, bro.
It's conscious. It's forced. That's the issue. If I choose, if I'm the breadwinner in my family and I'm a high performer, Like I own a business. I'm not taking 2 weeks off.
But you
take 2
can't.
weeks
You
off.
own a business. You can't take 2 weeks off.
No,
That's
no,
different for you.
I understand that, but if I was working my way up in a corporate structure that was a high performance corporate structure,
it would be part of the thing. You would have to do it or get fired.
If they're
those are two different scenarios.
But they're forcing it. The issue
what?
is they're forcing
They
it.
force
It should
you
be
to
an
take off
option.
holidays. So you'll, man.
I don't like all these freaking holidays either. Shit,
I'm
you
just
know
saying,
the
they
list of
force you to
holidays
do
is
on
just gonna
certain
grow
times.
indefinitely.
You got to be off for Columbus Day and Juneteenth and stuff like that. Like you ain't griping about them days, right?
No, but
Hey,
but
I
the issue is
understand
this.
what Hood is saying. I don't even like the name of it, dude.
Right. like it's dad's job not to work. What the fuck is that? Like since when is it dad's job to sit around the house and hold the baby? That's not dad's job, you stupid bro. Like, come on, bro. What are you doing to me?
How much time is it? A month?
That's not the point. It's not the point.
Saying,
it's the principle.
Like, and you getting,
Do we not believe in principle anymore?
Hold on.
Go
you're
ahead,
getting
man.
paid to do it.
Uh-huh.
See, the issue
I
is
don't like the principle of it.
You know what his argument? You know what his argument sounds like? It sounds like in Hollywood, man. What's the problem? Just put on the dress. You're getting paid for it.
Thank you. Yeah, wear the apron. Wear the apron, bro. Just put on the little cute apron. You don't even got to put no clothes on. You can just wear the apron, bro. You don't even got to get dressed that day. You ain't got to go to work. Why are you even wearing clothes? Just wear the apron. You know, dad's number one, and just walk around the house and do all the house stuff.
Man, y'all good. Y'all pumped that one up. Y'all pumped that.
Listen, I'm just running this to a full conclusion. You got to take the idea all the way home.
Man. Maternity. Now, the state of being a mother.
Yeah.
I think he said paternity. He said maternity. He said paternity leave.
I know, but still, it's the same idea as maternity leave. This would have never come out if women were not a part of the workforce. See, women entering the workforce gave us maternity leave, and then women didn't like the idea, I guess, that men still got to work. It was like, no, you should be home too. It's like, why the hell should I be home? You're home, right? Aren't you home?
You don't have to take it. I mean, you don't have to.
I know this is why I don't like the idea. You don't have to take it, but this is what he was saying. It's forced in some cases too, so it's like you can't get around it. And I don't like I don't like the principle of it, despite all the ancillary ideas. I don't like the principle in itself.
And the only issue that I have is the force part. I'm like, if you're a man and you want to take that time, do you? But like when you're talking about high performance environments where you're competing for position, this is the reason that women don't excel as fast as men, because we'll work 100 hours a week and then still go out and still live our lives and we're fine about it and we just die faster. And they're going, well, I don't want to work that hard. So I don't want you to work that hard so that we can just compete on equal merits where we only get to put in this amount of hour, even though you could do more. Right. That's all. That's my only.
Yeah, but like I said, you don't have to take it though. But that's kind of, I don't really understand. Like,
no, I was saying my statement was they are pushing to force it on men who are not taking it.
Where are they?
That's the issue.
Right, no, because
they're actually like my job. They're pretty generous with it. They're just like, take it. It's not forcing. It's kind of like promoted. They want you. Like the guy at my job, he just had a kid, and I think he's on 2 months paternity leave. I think he's coming back in like November.
Yep.
I mean,
well,
he's a senior, so it's like.
See, but but here's the bigger issue with all of that, Lou.
But in that, doesn't that promote family? I thought this was about family.
Well, no. Here's the bigger issue at play, though. Here's the bigger issue at play, though, Lou. The rest of the world doesn't compete that way, and all it takes is another because globally
work day.
Because
what do you mean Europe does? What do you mean they have?
If I can complete the thought,
one at a time. Please finish the thought.
All I'm saying is all it takes is for another group to state, you know what, we're not doing that. We're gonna work harder and harder and harder, aka like Japan does in many occasions, and then you can't compete, and your whole company is gone.
Wait a minute. So you're
Right.
comparing Japan. That's what we're gonna do. Compare Japan to America.
No, it's not just that,
No,
SKC.
I'm
And I'm
talking
not
about the
comparing the
global
Talk
individual.
market.
about the work ethic of
Yeah,
it.
I'm not talking about the individual man when I rail against paternity leave as an idea, because I'm not. It's not that I'm against the guy taking the time off if that's what the rules allow. What I'm saying is that, like SKC was making the point, it dulls you, and your fullest potential as an employee and as a man. You're now devoting that energy to something else. That has effects in other areas, and then also too when it comes to the household, and not even the household, when it comes to the workplace, this is something that we didn't mention yet. Why are men allowing themselves to be handicapped by the rules of women? That's kind of what paternity leave is in a way. I mean, it's you're putting a handicap out there. Women have to take time off for their children. I mean,
Yes.
I guess you can give the baby up and not take the time off. Do whatever you want to do, but like when it comes to the man, that's never an issue. But now it is all of a sudden.
I
You
just
know,
don't
there was a
understand this
stream that
argument. But
what's his name, Sigma Jones was doing a few weeks ago, and he was talking to Xanatos, because Xanatos is over in Japan right now, and he was basically stating about work ethic and how companies do things and all that stuff, and he was saying, good grief, the American work ethic in comparison is laughable, and how so many of them wash out because they can't handle a 10-hour workday.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, when that grows to a significant degree, then yeah, all of those benefits that you're talking about are, oh man, we can just take off, and so we can just do this, we can, if that continues, then that company will not be able to compete on a global scale.
so how was Europe doing
Well,
it? They have
they
4
work at
work
they work
week
at they
days.
can't be that good because they still getting their ass beat by Americans in Street Fighter tournaments. So they work at they can't be that lit. Americans still beat their ass all the time, so they can't be that lit.
No, they just
Yeah,
don't have time to
go
play
Street
video games.
Fighter. Yeah,
Wait, yeah, they
go
do.
Street Fighter.
No, wait, what do you mean they do have time to play? They play it 16 hours a day. They still get their ass beat.
And I think you're kind of talking about two different kind of groups anyway. So we're not.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
So
When it's raw corporate economic competition.
yeah. So my okay, then better example. Do you guys also agree that we should just lower the standards so that women can get into the military? Are you guys okay with a weakened military because the standards come down?
No, I
Go
don't.
for it.
I
Right?
don't.
No.
That's already happened.
Should male soldiers get paternity leave? Right.
I think
Well,
they.
I
I
mean,
think they
because
do. No, I think they do.
No,
so
I mean
damn, you
they
can
do.
take
I'm talking
time
about
off
the
the
physical
war.
requirement to do the job.
It depends on what you're doing. If you like,
Can you take
if you in
time off the war
Afghanistan,
because
they
your
ain't
wife
gonna
got
let you.
pregnant?
If you're in
I don't think so.
Afghanistan in the midst of
No.
the battle, you can't. But if you just
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, like, when it
Is it-
really comes down to it, they don't want men to actually quit their job. They want the man
man, come
where it
on, that's
counts.
totally different than
No,
working.
I made the extreme argument to make the point, but like, yeah. When it comes to the corporate world and regular jobs, it's not that you are absolutely critically missing when you take paternity leave. So we're making a more philosophical point, but still, I think the extreme point kind of drives it home. Like when it really comes down to it, as a man, I think most men listen. It's better that I be productive than not productive.
Yeah, but I agree. I
You
mean, I
being
don't. Yeah, the
productive with your
women
family.
already had the standards are already lower for women to get in. I don't agree with that at all. I think that so I do agree with that, but I don't.
So when I'm not talking about, and I want to make this very clear, I'm not talking about voluntarily taking paternity leave.
Okay,
When
okay,
you're
okay. I got you.
forcing
Okay.
a man, when you're forcing him to take it, so that the woman can compete on equal footing, because the man that doesn't take it generally will get promoted and be more productive than the women who do take it, because they
But see, that's what I'm
generally
saying.
need to.
I can't see your name, but I just can't see that being applicable. I've never seen a company force somebody to take leave for their child. It's always like you said, it's always voluntary. It's always like it's an option. You know what I mean? Just like how they.
Okay.
Yeah, how
I
common is
know
that
Apple.
though?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because Apple, they have
No.
a thing where they let women freeze their eggs and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
like all these things are like optional. You know what I mean?
But-
Like,
but
I
what
never
I-
heard of being forced.
When I say that women are trying to force it because those women are going, hey, we can't make it as far because homeboy works 100 hours a week and he doesn't take the 2 weeks off that I have to. We need him to take that 2 weeks off so I can compete. I was giving a scenario, and they are trying to push for that.
Okay.
So
But see, you're kind
I'm
of
not
you're
saying
still
that it
kind of
has
playing
to.
off the
I'm saying that it's
productivity
being pushed
argument.
for,
Yeah, I
so
just
that they
okay.
can compete equally with men.
Well,
who they
I
can't
don't agree with that. Then what to make my
Okay.
point, May, I don't agree with that. Now that we on the same,
Yeah.
understanding, I don't agree with forcing men for paternity. I do not.
And I'm sorry for not verbalizing that well. Like like that was the question, was like when you're forcing a bar to be changed so that you can compete.
Yeah, I don't agree. Yeah, I don't agree. With that at all.
Yeah,
I don't agree with
yeah,
that
man.
at all.
Because there are certain markets, like take for instance, in financial markets, man, there's some guys that be crushing it. I mean, 75, 80 hours a week,
Mm.
and that's nothing to them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't that whole forcing people to do this. Nah, bro. Nah, that's all that is to try to cause some people to be able to compete where they normally they couldn't.
Yep.
Well, see, and that's kind of the argument I was making about it. It's not even from a practical business standpoint. It's just more philosophical. Like, I think when you talk about things like the wage gap or whatever,
Yeah.
the birth rate or the fact that women give birth rather is a huge factor in things like the wage gap. And so now opening the door to paternity leave is like slowly like a backdoor way to sort of fight the wage gap. And I don't really care to fight it. I'm like, no, men are supposed to be more productive. It's just the way we work.
Yes. I mean the wage gap, it's been proven to be a myth because women aren't even trying to do the same jobs. Like women don't, like in my field, I'm one of the only black people outside of conferences, and then I'll meet like one or two other black people maybe that are in the same business that I am, but there also aren't a whole lot of women. And like they just don't want those jobs because there's manual labor involved in it. And I get like some days you get dirty. Like I get it, but don't say you're not paid well the same. I'm like, do you walk into a job and they're like, you're a woman, we're paying you less than everyone else in this business that you walked into? I don't see that happening. I don't believe that that's a thing.
Mike, check. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My sound okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, listen, man. All I'm thinking is, I'm just like, man, this political landscape. I see what you guys are saying. I don't know. I get to some points. I think like if you live in a blue city, sometimes like I don't know. Like when we talk about black men, they don't really politically organize like that around. Like what like when I talked about Memphis, Tennessee, I mean they had that paternity fraud law, and that started in a barbershop. I mean they just got a bunch of people to sign, and they just started rallying around it because there was a bunch of in Memphis there was a lot of kids not mama's baby papa's babies going on.
I think you're speaking against your point, Lou. And what I mean is that it's not that black men will not politically. They are not right now. Fine, grant you, but it's not that they absolutely will not. It's just that I think you have to offer new solutions for modern day black men to actually politically galvanize around. That's kind of what I've been sort of exploring in a lot of these panels here. Not so much that like you said, black men are just absolutely against political organization. I'm trying to explore the ideas that
I'm not
would
saying that they're
actively, gain some of that
well,
organization.
let me rephrase. I'm not saying they're against it. They just don't do it like that in mass.
Right. Okay. I guess that's where we're splitting then.
Yeah. And that's why I was saying, like, if I were to tell black men to vote Republican, I don't know how I could do that with a straight face. I mean, I know Democrats are fucked, right? But it's like you kind of already have a political cachet with Democrats for the most part. So when
do you really though?
I mean,
why? Because you're black.
It's conditioning.
I mean, I was gonna say the conditioning, or you already have people in your circle. I mean, like this is what I'm saying. Like, let's say you go to a room of black people, and they're majority Democrat, right? So it's like,
Leon, take the link if you want to come up. I'm sorry, Lou.
No, well, I'm just saying we know by the numbers they're majority Democrat. So it's like, would it be better to try to change the Republican or introduce something to them for Democrats to put to pass?
What I'm saying to you, Lou, is that when it comes to that, and not trying to sell either whatever, but all of the people that you're talking about that just say, oh well, bandwagon, they can't give, especially the men, they can't give you a good reason.
What, to go Democrat or to go Republican?
I can't. Herschel Walker, like where I'm at, they're running.
No, I'm talking about on the team that they're already on. They just know, just because black.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm of the thought, bro. I don't really know what black people could. I guess what stifling immigration, but then they tried that in Alabama, and then niggas wasn't working. I mean, it's just like they weren't working. You know, they banned illegals from working in Alabama, and then there was a huge labor shortage because niggas didn't want to work. So it's like, I mean, I don't know how you can really even. They don't even want to. I'm just.
They're
I
not
don't understand.
involved. Exactly. They on the sidelines. Lou say it. They on the sidelines.
And
They
then
want to
we
get
talk
in the
about.
game.
And I was pushing against H-1B visas, but shit, I get on these panels, niggas argue me about tech and stuff like that. So it's like, damn, I mean, where America gonna get these people from? Niggas don't want to do it. So I mean, what? They don't want to do the high tech. They don't want to do the low tech. So it's like,
I think
what America gonna do?
I think
that's what I'm
America
saying.
kind of has to.
I think it should implode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
America
let it.
should implode.
No, Black America. And if
if
America
you
settled,
start
that's
doing
different. But
these
Black
things-
America is going to implode a little bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
If
that's what
that's
I'm,
gonna
that's
hurt
what I'm
us, we need
saying.
to get up. You know what I'm saying? Off our proverbial asses and get on the ball. We gotta do something. We can't just sit here and complain.
Well,
I think of and I'm just being straight with you, Lou, and panel and all this. I think more benign neglect works.
Mhm.
let them
Now, when you say
have
benign
whatever they
neglect,
want
that
to.
means like you neglect them to die, like they need water. You just
Yes.
don't okay,
Yep.
I got you. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Wow.
I got you.
Benign neglect is the future. If you want to
That's not
save
gonna-
the village, you got to starve the children.
Right. Well, I mean, how else are they going to learn?
Listen, it sounds wrong, but it feels right. Or maybe it feels wrong, but it sounds right. I don't know how to embrace that idea yet.
Dude, that response was everything. That was perfect. Like that's exactly what it is. Sounds wrong, but feels right.
Conservative. I don't got a long time, but
All right, yeah,
I
take the
just came
floor,
up to
Leon.
talk
What was the
about
issue?
paternity leave, and I don't have the right earphones, so I wasn't trying to make a long echo. But particularly when we look at Americans now, we're separated from a lot of our family, so it'd be different. I wouldn't take paternity leave if I lived around my aunties and my uncles and my parents. So when we look across the board, you might be lucky to have one or two family members in that town. And women are naturally social creatures, so you're leaving a woman by herself who just had a baby. And the thing is, the majority, when you look into businesses, majority of the manager jobs are locked up, and those guys aren't leaving. So what are we competing against? I'm a supervisor. There's two guys that's not going to quit. I'm taking leave. You know what I'm saying? I took leave. My son's 8 months old. I still have my position. I'm still competing with the same people. Like, it's good. Like I said, I wouldn't take paternity leave if I was in Mississippi and I had 80% of my family. Well, all we have here is her parents live 30 minutes away. My mother and father live about 30 minutes away. There's certain needs that are going to have to be met. You get what I'm saying?
Are you from Mississippi?
Naturally, yes. That's where my roots go.
What part?
Man, don't ask me all that. But my family's from Mississippi and Alabama.
Oh, damn, I was just trying to be cordial. I was trying to be cordial.
Nah, yeah, y'all might be cousins or something.
Yeah, that's some nigga shit. Okay, that's cool.
All right, well, they're from
Nah, cool. No, you good. You good.
Boise, Mississippi, Haven, Gulfport, and Mobile, Alabama.
So, Leon, I hear you and I respect that sentiment 100%. The way that I got to partner in my company was I was the guy who didn't take those 2 weeks. Like, I'm always there. I'm there an hour before everybody else. I'm the last person to leave. Like, they need me.
And that is the norm. And if I can add on to that, isn't it true that the other people who, let's say, that
Leon, can you mute up if you're not speaking, please? Thank you.
Isn't it true that the other quote unquote, if there was a higher up position,
right,
of the people who they didn't have to do what you did, yeah, they may hold a title, but there is a undercurrent of you're not my equal.
You
All
know,
right.
I'm of the camp. I can't see your name, but to the top right, I'm of the camp of work smart. You know, like I know in tech, to be honest with you, working hard actually isn't in your best interest. It's actually just plotting and waiting on your next move and dipping out when your experience gets to a certain point.
Hey, can I respond to that real quick before
Y'all
I
in these
go?
mics. Y'all in these mics.
Roger,
Bro.
I think that's you. I just added you to the show. Mute your mic up for a minute, Roger.
Hey, do you mind if I reply to that before I go?
Yeah, please do.
So particularly when you get a job, you ask about their health insurance and everything they cover. If that's part of it, that's what I signed up for. That's what you signed up for. So when you sign up to a job and you see they have paternity leave, if you think it's beneficial to you, it's beneficial to you as an individual. Right. That's what they offer. So when we make the argument, it actually doesn't make sense, because one thing I looked at, okay, what do y'all cover for my children? What do y'all cover for my woman? What do y'all cover for me? Oh, we give paternity leave too. That's incentive. That's already saying, yeah, you can compete and you get this. You don't have to take it. Like I said, if I was in Mississippi, I wouldn't have took leave.
Yeah.
Because I have all that support.
Right.
But since I'm not in Mississippi and I'm in Texas, yes, my mom and my dad live 30 minutes away. Her parents live 30 minutes away. But I took the time off anyway, and I'm a supervisor. And how I look at it, those guys aren't getting out of the way anytime soon. So all this competing stuff for a small minority of people when your workforce is bigger than your management squad is a basic argument. And from his standpoint, he's the boss, and I understand he's making a sacrifice because he provides for a bigger group of people other than his family being a boss. But the majority of y'all aren't bosses, y'all are employees. So if he has that package of insurance that says, hey, you can take this off, that's your choice. So that's why it's good. There's situations like mine, not having a big tribe. And most people don't. Most of us we've been moved around and we don't have family near us. And you're talking about leaving a woman that is a group-minded individual by herself with a baby, while going through postpartum and having her vagina and all that shit heal up, having to clean and learn how to take care of a baby by herself. That's the reason for paternity leave. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna head out.
All right.
And just listen to the chat. Holla at y'all.
Thanks.
All right, peace. And yeah, thanks for coming up. So I appreciate that, by the way. Now, to sort of just respond to that, and I think that we kind of probably generally up here share the sentiment that I don't disagree with your personal choice and your personal situation. Like, you did what was best for your family, and you did whatever the rules allowed for your family in that moment. That's not really where I'm coming at it from, and I don't know that anybody in the panel is coming at it from that angle either. I just think that the way you describe it, the way you sort of laid out your argument, it opened up something else for me too. The fact that paternity leave kind of exists is sort of, it's like an attempt to solve a modern problem of, like, having women in the workforce, like I said, is part of the reason why we have maternity leave in general, right? Just for the woman. But then also it creates a situation where there is less family formation and thus less family network for the young women who are entering motherhood to actually depend on. And so, like you said, there's less of that ability for women to rely on community like they once did, because less women are actually involved in the act of creating community. So it's sort of like, even though I said, like, I'm not trying to argue against your personal choices, I think the very existence of the paternity leave and maternity leave even, it reminds me why I'm uncomfortable with the way things are presently. Like, there's just huge problems with the current system. So I appreciate you coming up, Lou. Thanks for hopping on the mic.
It seems like it's that whole scenario is an after effect of like you were saying, when women decided they wanted to be bosses too. Now, what are you doing? Like, they're out competing with men for resources.
Right.
In games that they can't win, and there's less community for them on the back end. Because I was like, when did paternity leave start? When did it exist? Because historically, we didn't have that. Also, historically, we didn't have women in the workforce. So, like, she was home by herself to begin with.
But then it was
not by herself
to help that woman. You got to think.
Right. It wasn't a raw.
Like, if it wasn't no women in the workforce, then it was other women around that woman to help her with the kids.
But then when
you
we
gotta
made the
think about
shift
it like
to them
that,
wanting to
that's why
compete
it
with
works.
men, to do men things, then like now that whole role is disrupted, right?
And that's kind of the problem. And now that the work life of, I mean, the home life of women has been disrupted, the work life of men is now being disrupted. You see
The
how it
work
just
life,
sort of,
I mean, but that's transformed too. Like back in the day, you could be fresh out of college and get a job that gave you enough money to raise a family and have a pension after a retirement. Now you got to go to school of some type to even get ahead, even if it's trade school or college. So it's a different landscape.
That's a lie.
So women have to, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Your girl gonna kind of have to help with the bills and stuff. So you're gonna kind of have to help with the home stuff. It's an even exchange. Like things are changing. Like
I don't think it's even the way you say it is, though.
but it is though. So you telling me a man
No,
can
because
take,
you're almost arguing for the 50-50 relationship. You're
no,
just not
but
throwing
you
numbers on
kind of
it.
have. I mean, if you gonna be realistic, like if you're not no boss,
That's why I'm
like you
saying
were
it's not
saying, if
going to
you're not no
work.
boss dude making boss moves, you're gonna have a partner in everything,
Realistically,
from the home to
realistically,
your finances, right?
If you graduate today, realistically, and you are 18 and you go get into concrete field and you let them know when you coming in, because most of these guys are getting ready to retire and they have no one to leave these companies to.
Who
You
that
can
focus
own
at
a
18,
concrete
bro?
company
Come
by
on, man. I'm just
28,
saying, be realistic.
and you
Who
live
that
rich.
focus at
100%.
One at a time.
I work in this field. Most of the trades are not getting enough Americans legally to come work for them. They have no one to leave their businesses to. Nobody. They're going to go away.
See, that's what I'm
Because
saying.
illegal immigrants are going into these fields and making 65 grand a year coming over here to send back home because we don't want to work. We don't want to do men jobs. So, like, don't tell me that you can't you could graduate from high school and be to the bag in 10 years if you put your nose down and you're fine with getting dirty and doing actual man work. Because there's not men doing it. There's only so many desk jobs to have, my guy. Like, the reality of it is we're flooding that market.
There's a lot of tech jobs open.
They're all, but we're flooding that market.
Who's flooded it?
Literally everyone, because everyone wants to be inside in air conditioning. Like, how many air conditioning jobs are? Like, I mean,
no, it's not.
It's supply and demand.
It's not really flooding. It's actually a severe shortage.
So people. Well, so what's everybody going to college for then?
The majority is like social liberal arts and like business.
Yeah. Most college students are women, and most women aren't taking like even tech type jobs like the
exactly.
STEM or whatever.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. So I mean,
I think y'all making the same argument. I think y'all
making
the same
I don't think you're
argument.
fighting as much as you think. Yeah.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think you have to go to college to get the tech job either. But like, I mean,
you don't. You're right. You're right. You don't. You're right.
So if we're talking about moving pragmatically as men, you go to where the money is. The issue is within our community, we're told to go follow your dream, go do what you want to do, not what needs to be done. There's not a sense of responsibility there.
I think there's a little truth in that somewhat.
Like everybody's chasing their dream. Like, you get rich and then fund your dream. You do your dream later.
Hey, I agree with you on that. My dad told me my NBA dreams. He said I'll never make it to the NBA. So
Right.
That kind of.
And see, we need fathers to tell children the truth about the future.
Like, bro.
Yeah, he told me I'm not. He told me at like 14. He said, "You're not going to the NBA, bro." Like, he just kept it real.
And this is kind of like, part of the show title too. Like, this is why you have to vote against women, because ultimately you have to sort of right the ship to whatever degree is possible. Even if in the grand scheme of things, let's say it's too late, demographics is destiny, as they say. Even to write your own individual life, I don't see how you can profit by using your one vote to support something that's just not in your favor.
And I think that's how you convince people. It's two simple questions to get people to learn how to think. How does this benefit me, and why is it good?
Right. What that got to do with me, and what have you done for me lately?
Right.
It's very selfish reasoning, but this is where you have to reach people.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I think that's realistically, if you break it down and you start questioning that, like, why is this good? Why is this thought process good? Like, why is it good for women to be in the workforce? Like, I mean, obviously it lowers the cost of your workforce because you're doubling it. Why is it good to have women chasing the bag the same way men are and having two separate homes? Well, because if you have two homes, you have two sets of utilities, you have two light bills, you have two house payments or mortgages or rents. It's great. Is it good for you? Is it good for us? That's a different conversation when you start breaking it down that way and actually do things logically. Like, you can get to the bottom of a bunch of answers. You start asking, why is this good? Because like the answers you get, it's like, well, you wouldn't need a two working household with two income earners if women weren't introduced into the workforce and diluted the value of workers. That's why you used to be able to have one man go to work and be able to support a family right out of high school.
See, it's also a part of why I kind of take issue with black politics as we all kind of commonly understand it. It doesn't really allow you to ask serious questions about what's really happening, what's going on. Everything is a black issue, black this, black that, my grievance, my history, my slavery, 400 years, we've been oppressed. All that stuff kind of obscures like what you're kind of describing as almost like what they call like kitchen table pocketbook issues.
Yep. But I mean, on the plus side of it, we're able to have these conversations because, like, I don't know anyone on this panel. I found you randomly, but like, we're having these dialogues are that pendulum swinging back because this ain't the only panel that I've popped in on. So like, I know there's other pockets of men having the same conversation that aren't on this panel right now. You know what I'm saying? So like, in different variations, but they're talking about the same stuff.
Right.
Hey, Roger.
And I'll throw this to you. This is, I could be assuming, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But if people would like here can sit down and think about those issues and understand, hey, okay, these things have to be worked out. People have to have these type of conversations. Do we not also grasp that there probably have been some other people who have already had these conversations, and at the same time, now they have looked and said, okay, so since we've gotten to this point and you have this group that you can't have this conversation with, we got to deal with them. What's the plan for them? You know that's happening somewhere.
Yep.
Well, and this is why I kind of been laying out things. You have to come with a list of sort of demands, or you need a big ask. You know how the negotiation process works. I'm asking for big things, but I'll probably walk away with a lot of smaller things, that sort of deal. And so the way I've been looking at it is like, as far as black men and the black male vote is concerned, you kind of have to formulate what you want. You have to work out what it is we want, and then come down. All right, what do you think is possible? And then what should we ask? What should we ask for first? Like, it's sort of laid out in steps, and I think that process has to be worked out on a granular level, like we're talking about now.
To a certain extent, I think some of those things have been already laid out, but okay, God damn, man, good, y'all making me like Trey. For the most part, and this is what I'm seeing, I guess the packages are there, but some of the other people are stating, okay, if you can't read and understand how this benefits you, then you don't need to be on this team.
You're right.
Yeah. When people ask why the Republican Party doesn't go after the black vote harder than it does, one of the responses that I kind of have to that is that, why don't, if black people, because a lot of the people who ask that question kind of accept that the Republican Party is right on certain ideas, but my position is that if you can accept that the Republican Party is sort of, if they're right, if they kind of have the cure for what ails you, as they say, right, then why is it incumbent on them to come to you? Why do you want the doctor to come seek out the sick? I think the sick have to seek out the doctors. That's the way it sort of works here. And so, like, yeah, Black America has to take the responsibility of saving itself to some degree. And then to sort of really speak more directly to what you were talking about, SKC, I think those that can should do, and those that know should speak. And it just has to be sort of an organic growth from that little egg, from that little kernel of an idea where, like, the people who get it, the people, the black men in particular who get it, sort of have to just, do the little things that make the idea grow. And nature will take its course, I suppose. And if time
Well,
is against us, then well, so be it.
well, if a prerequisite to being like, take for instance, the old school Patriots. I'll just use the football analogy. Everybody knew you go to the Patriots, you're gonna have to play the Patriots way. Bill Belichick runs the show. No monkey business, no none of that stuff. You can't come in there talking about, well, what is the team gonna do for me? No, you're a cog, you're a number. Period. If you can win here, but you're gonna play a role, and that's it. Um, to a certain extent. Oh, and you have to be pretty savvy. You need to know the plays. You need to know how football works. You need to understand the playbook and the whole nine. No dumb players allowed. Why can't people get that works in other things as well? It's like, if you coming over to a particular a particular team, if you can't read, you're not worth being on the team. If you can't understand complex issues, what's the point?
But
Well, let me speak to that directly real quick.
my pushback against that. Oh, okay, go ahead.
One second, Lou. 1 second, Lou. Let me just say this. I think black men are, as far as like making that kind of politics work for black men, to buttress your argument, black men are going to have to work for that kind of politics, right? If you want this to work, you can't really embrace the race game first. You're going to have to drop the race argument and the argument in the spirit of not fighting directly for these little petty racial issues and embracing some more sound logical approaches will in fact actually solve some of the racial problems you're talking about. And I think that's the way forward. Black men in particular are going to have to like drop the petty race game. That is totally the currency of women and women's political currency rather. And you can't really fight that fight if you want to move to the right.
Yeah, and this is my
Lou,
pushback.
you were saying something.
SJ, my pushback against that is that illiterate, baby daddy, unemployed, black men aren't even. I mean, you're right. I mean, they're not even eligible. They're not even showing up to practice. They're not even showing up to the tryouts. They're not even. You know what I'm saying? They're not even equipped to. They're not even mobilized. They don't do anything. They don't vote at all.
Exactly. Why be mad at the other side for saying, okay, so we acknowledge that the majority is of that ilk.
That's not the majority, though.
Well, that's so far as that voice, that representation is the majority representation. I'll put it that way. That's the image that's put out. So if that's how you want to play it, then okay, fine. How do you make that group a cash cow? Because it's like, if people want to say that they're beasts and animals and all that other stuff, okay, well then you just create a farm, right?
And that's what I keep telling y'all. Like if you hate niggas, then Democrats where it's at. I keep telling y'all that they actually have the farm. They actually have the plantation.
This is also why I say you kind of got to drop the black for the most part, because like you have to speak to what you have to do what's going to benefit you more as an individual. So if individually you're not comfortable with the farm, you can't vote for the farm.
Right. So
That's true.
if people want to stay on the farm and that's how they want to continue to interact and do things, okay, it's like fine.
But
Now
did
we
you see
need to create. Now we need to make sure that we make as much profit off the farm as possible.
Yes, and that's what I'm telling you. That's what Democrats do. They actually keep the farm stable. I keep telling y'all that.
Right. So if the animals want to fight for the farm, they're like, no, we don't want to go out to the wild. No, we don't want to. We want to stay on this farm. Please skin us up, eat us up. I'm like, okay. What's the argument then?
I don't think there is an argument. I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What you say, bro? Go ahead.
I was saying I don't think there has to be an argument. I mean, I think that what we're seeing right now that's playing out is there's a division within the culture of what that narrative is going to be moving forward. And the reality of it is not everybody's going to make it. That's rule 1. You don't pick up dead bodies on the battlefield if you're in the middle of a firefight. That's rule 2. So if these people want to be out there and in that realm, cool. If you come around before the firefight's over and you decide you want to get up, like, we can help the wounded get moving forward, but like, they got to want to get off the ground. And if they don't, then we leave them where they're at, because all that's doing is holding us up. The second thing is we have to be the example. Everyone on this panel, you guys are all smart men. Like, we have proven that you can have a group of black men who don't necessarily agree that can have a conversation about how to improve our community from different perspectives and standpoints. Each of you are tasked with going forward with that in your individual community, because it starts in your house, then your community. That's how things get fixed. Everybody has to just go and be like, cool, I'm going to make my situation the best that it can be. I'm going to get to the top of whatever I can get to. I'm going to be the standard. If all of us do that, then it will spread like a virus, because the way that they destabilized our culture spread like a virus, and it started in our homes.
Right, but I would just say, in addition to that, you need to recognize that mud seals need to be produced. They have to.
Yeah,
I think to the degree that you are correct about, like, just the general nature of, like, the stratification of society or whatever, the mud sill thing. Fine, that's okay. There will always be the people who are needed to do the dirty jobs, and the people who will never rise up above a certain station. Like, all right, whatever. That is what it is about people in society. I think you kind of have to speak in a way that I think you have to speak rather to the people who are or who aspire to be more than a mudsill. I think for Black America, there's need for a culture that is Black to some degree, but is not aspiring to be a part of the mudsill class. And I think that's kind of what's also happening here. And I think this whole arguing, the soul of Blackness and arguing about the identity of Black people. I think when it comes to, like, Black men leaving the Democrat plantation and, like I said, openly voting against, like, the female politic and all that, it's totally built into that. It's baked into that cake of sort of arguing over what the image and the idea of Black people and Blackness really is. Because I think change is required because failure is imminent.
But I'm good up with y'all, man. It was good. It was good talking with y'all. Y'all have a good Sunday.
You too,
Yeah,
man.
I'm gonna wind this down in a minute. It's been like 4 hours too. We've been at this for a while now. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Like, it's the idea that things need to change, because I think a lot of people see that we're on a precipice of sorts, right? Things are at a unique inflection point, and so men are sort of leaving the Democrat plantation. It's almost a sign of I hate to say rats seeking a flinking ship. Leaving a sinking ship, as they say. I hate to put it in those terms, but it does remind me of that. It's like that's you can tell something's wrong. Like, people are sort of starting to leave. Like, all right, the city of San Francisco, people are just sort of leaving the city. A lot of major cities, people are just sort of leaving the cities, right? And I think when it comes to Black men leaving the Democrat political establishment, I think there's some similarity in that, and it's just people noticing. It's like you see the tidal wave coming, and you got to do something.
Hey, something? I just want to ask you this. Maybe the other guy on can chime into it a bit, but I'm curious. All of the crime stuff that's been going on, and of course, people are trying to save their seats and all that stuff. But what do you have to? What kind of bill or policy change do you have to enact in order to right the ship when it comes to all the rampant crime and just craziness of lawlessness?
I'm gonna get canceled, but we got to bring back them toxically masculine cops, bro.
We're gonna need racist police.
Yep.
I think it has to be much worse than the '94 crime bill.
Like, it's just there's gonna have to be a zero tolerance policy, and you're gonna have to get somebody masculine enough in there to enforce it. It's just what it is.
Now this is the bad part about that. Okay, so Hoodservative, you know those guys, the people that they say are completely racist and that people hate.
Yep.
Those are the people that you need for the job.
That's what I just said, bro. We got to bring back the old school, like the Dirty Harry police. What was that other guy with those movies? Charles. What was his name?
Yeah, Charles Bronson and all.
Charles Bronson. Yeah, we got to bring him back.
But you remember in that time frame, crime was a lot higher and lawlessness had, and that was why a lot of that was prominent in the media again, because those are the times that you're living in.
Well, we're gonna get that back. SKC, I don't think you were on the panel. I don't know if you were around that night. The show I did a couple of days ago, it actually got put on like age restriction or something. I might even take it down now. But I think this is why, because I played a series of political ads that were straight up about the crime wave that we're all living through right now. And it was like 98% black people. Like you could barely tell if there was a white person that was popping up doing something. It was a majority of black people they're raping and pillaging across the country. And goodness, like we're going to get that time back. There's going to be a lot of movies about the black crime wave in the next couple of years.
I think that I don't even think we need them back that long. I think we can get it wrapped up in about 12 months. Because like these dudes that are out here now, out here shooting people with purses on, bruh, like come on now. Like they get that wrapped up real quick. It'd be like most of these kids ain't never gotten hit. It'd be good. They might not even have to shoot nobody. They could just hit them. Like,
well, that's another thing too. Speaking of jail, I just saw a clip of a video today. Some dude in jail with a cell phone is live streaming as they took over the jail. They got some cop like laid down on, not a CO or whatever. They got him laid down on the floor with his hands tied behind his back, face down. They got the rest of the cops are like locked in some kind of little, like the area where the guys normally sit and have their daytime or whatever. They got all the police locked in that area. I'm like, oh, I think jail needs to get a lot more brutal. I mean, speaking of ways forward, how you solve this problem, we need to start rebuilding those old school jails where it's just like concrete and bar. That's what we got to get back to. We got to get back to old school medieval prisons.
Yeah.
Hoodservative. Could you imagine when, like, if the media and everything takes a complete turn and it goes back old school and you see like a young senator from somewhere and he's on screen. I didn't call them this. They called themselves super gremlins. They say themselves that they are on demon time. I mean,
bruh. Yeah, it's wild out here, man. Like it's like you look at the laws that they're passing now. Like Chicago got their purge law; they're going into effect the 1st. That's going to be interesting.
The process that will be required to rectify that would be such a hard pendulum swing that, I mean, good grief.
Well, I mean, if you look
it's
at
almost
it, though,
like turning a ship too fast to where it's going to capsize.
And you know what? I'll actually add one. I'll add one for you. Whatever black man can sort of harness that energy and ride the wave on the right will grow to like presidential heights.
Yeah.
You see, this is where I see things are. Like you're in a great moment to be the hero or the villain. You just got to choose.
Oh, you're not wrong. That's so true. And I never even thought about it like that. Like that's a very good point.
Right. Because it's not like, I think you started out when you got on this panel, you kind of were making the point that the right isn't nearly as racist as people, try to make it sound. And so I think what could happen very likely is that The country isn't in spirit, diversity and all that
Yeah.
stuff. The right black man on the right can come in with an iron fist, so to speak, and reset some things. He won't be won't solve every problem, but he can get a lot done.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I kind of have always been able to have those conversations with people on the right because I was raised to be an individualist because my family's mixed and my mom just straight up said, no one's going to like you. Deal with it. Like, it's just what it is. So she was like, you're going to have to deal with people on an individual basis because, like, you're not really going to have your group because you don't fit in anywhere. It's just it's what you got to do. But the conservatives, more often than not, they're individualists, man. Like, if they see you grinding and you're trying and you're black, they want to help you. Like, as an individual, they're not helping you because you're black. They're like, oh, you're actually trying. And, like, there might be like a little bit of white guilt sprinkled in there somewhere, but you'll get your at-bats with that group of people. Like, they're like, oh, you're trying to better yourself? Cool. We want to help you. Like, I've gotten into rooms where most of the time you ain't seeing nobody like us because they're like, hey, like, you have these ideals and you're able to actually get your points across. We want to talk with you. Like, you need to meet this person. I want to introduce you to this person. Like, they need to hear your take on this.
You know what? And I think that's a great place for us to end right now.
Yep.
Because you remind me something like Jordan Peterson he was telling us, he was laying out an idea basically in that vein about exploring the unexplored, finding that treasure, just facing the dragon, slaying the beast and finding out whatever treasure he was hiding, and then whoever can complete that quest can bring it back to their people, that whole hero's journey and all that sort of thing. And that is sort of like the moment to really to sort of flesh out the idea I just said about us being in a moment between hero and villain. Like, for black men, or for the black male vote, I think we're at that point where, like, it's in spite of all the racism we're supposed to fear on the right, I think we'll find that if we put in the work to face this unexplored territory, we've heard there was some monsters in this dark forest over here, but you got to be willing to go into the darkness to find the treasure, and then you can come back and do something for your people. That's the only way forward. And so, with that being said, I want to thank you, Ray, for holding it down with us today. You've been a great guest up here. It's the first time I met you, but great commentary so far. Thank you for coming up.
I dropped my stuff in the back. Anything I can do to support you, let me know. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that. But guys, yeah, it's been like a 4-hour show today, and I think we're all talked out. I certainly am all talked out. And thank you guys so much for your participation, your donations today. I really appreciate all the donations that you guys sent through today, and especially all the commentary. Some of you guys in the chat section keep the show going with your comments and all that. So, this is the best thing about the YouTube kind of shows. Like, the chat is like a really meta part of the show. You guys can sort of add things that'll alter the conversation sometimes and add your own little twist to things or whatever. So, I really appreciate my chat for that. But it's been a long show and we are done. So, guys, thank you so much. I'm up out of here. And where are all my clips to play us out? Here we go.
What black community? It's a black environment with black women and black children in it.
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have, that isn't freedom. That isn't going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help black people.